I was a banker for a while. I guess she was there probably 7 years.
Oh, you're talking about the one that killed her?
No.
No,
Another one, I can't remember.
I think her, I mean,
There was a way she did it was when, yeah, her own company.
yeah, she had her own company.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got like,
She,
and now
they
it's
found her in a car. Yeah.
something like
Next to
that.
the office.
Yeah,
Wow.
now it's,
That company went out of business and husband, I believe he's going into someplace, I'm not sure. That was a lot of years ago. I don't know.
well, yeah, you know, it's that long, but it doesn't seem
Doesn't
that
seem
long. Like, I didn't realize my tenants had been there 8 years.
One of the gals used to work. Years.
Right.
When she
Right.
died, and she left. 2 years.
John. Her name is Johnson, yes.
Her husband's name was Al.
That's it.
Oh, is it? Okay, so you know.
So Alyssa Spears, you talked about, right?
She works on the.
Oh, she did, okay, yeah, she has her own company, she's doing pretty well.
She was very active.
Yeah.
She handled her whole business mostly handles more moderate price and people. She doesn't. She does not.
Yeah, there's to be a,
Yeah.
reputable country, company.
Oh, yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's from Australia.
She is,
She is, I love her.
yeah, she has, she's got several properties listed in Palm Beach.
And she's broken.
Right. Yeah, I did it, real estate for about 18 years in Portland, Tompkins Young Real Estate.
No, that's.
Oh, I- Hmm?
Oh,
It was Tompkins Young Real Estate. Isn't it?
wow, it's a little gun thing.
I went
Is he back?
and act.
Is it back?
I
No.
went to work, I don't know when the market started.
Yeah.
Back then.
And
And then, of course, you know, the market changed.
Yeah, how are we doing on that?
And I went to work with the mill. I kept my license.
We're getting the evidence scanned in right now. I'll be right back.
We'll be here.
I don't know. It's expensive.
You know, it is, we have to do the intermediate class.
Every 2 years. I have nothing to go for.
Yeah.
You know who signed it more than?
I know. I can't tell on here, I think.
So I thought, I'm not gonna do this again, you know, so I just let it go, and it was Tom's, don't do that, you never get your license back.
Wait,
It's bad here.
Suspended.
Put it on, it's too, what's going on, I'm okay with.
Yeah, I mean,
it.
That's probably gonna make it.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's the freedom, you gotta show when people are.
Oh, that's why I give everybody close.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Probably.
I used to do that too. 'Cause, you know,
Especially
they,
places where years ago, I was younger. You know, now it's me like this, stairs and that water.
you gotta be chipper. So I promise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best behavior, yeah.
And then they bring the kids with them,
What?
dogs and.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, I had one client that she was 5-year-old to the home. We can probably go over, beautiful home, just to see by the sea.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Die for it. I didn't go to the house, anybody, I had to go. I was in,
Sure.
I had to go. And get our day. Clean up all the dog stuff, but the dog stuff, and we go, look at it. I'm telling you, it was amazing.
I know.
Sure.
And I love the ones that say, oh, we have a dog, but he doesn't bite.
We'll be entertained.
Yeah, he'll bite.
I had a little, had a little yakko, but he was like, but he was so funny, he was afraid, he put him on a chair, tied him, sitting on, he wouldn't jump off of it.
Oh,
He tried to get in the house first, catch him, put him on a chair, or something, and then he would just sit there, but I had to stay the whole time.
Oh, I tell you, we have stories, don't we?
Oh, nice. I had a cat one time. It's a skateboardist. It's going to show the house. The cat would get out on the porch somehow. And you have a hole in the street. On the golf course. Same people who have the private school. Oh, God. It's a different house. Thank you. That cat. No, when the minute came in the front door, we showed it the porch. They got out the door and down the fairway. I mean, at a full off throttle, you know, so I can't tell you how many times I had to run down the fairway.
Chase the cat, I know, and curse the old guy.
And people were coming the other way, awful, and you just kept running down the road. But I never lost. I was,
Yeah, I had fun, I enjoyed
yeah,
it. It was,
not interesting.
I just,
And then some there aren't.
yeah. And then, you know, you get, like you said, you learn to know who the looky loos are, and you get more experience, and you just learn to do referrals, like, let's just refer this out. And, but my kids, whenever they're buying stuff, they still contact me, what about this, Mom? What about that?
Yeah, when you.
I mean, I can help them.
Knowledge, right?
Yeah,
A lot of money and selling. You know, it's fine, selling stuff, sure. Things greater, things wrong, things, you know, things that you think are gonna be absolutely just.
oh, they're very good, huh?
You know, maybe foreclosing, crash.
Well, I know when I first got my license, everybody kept telling me, don't expect any money for that, 3 to 6 months, and then. And the first sale I had was my lister and my social. The cash deal.
Well,
It's
this easy.
time.
You're right.
What are they talking about?
Yeah.
It's like,
Stay tuned.
oh,
Not, you know. Check the wire and so.
nice.
I would do this. A lot.
Yeah,
Probably so.
yeah.
But this property stays 61%.
Oh, do they?
Wow, it's very nice. Some agencies have to work that out.
That's what we had to do to work on
They won.
That's good.
65.
That is good. We started, you know, with 60% for in-house and 50/50 out, outhouse. And then the more you made, then you increased, yeah.
Right.
I never got to 100% because we just didn't have that many houses.
100% of the whole.
Yeah.
Well, great until the agency didn't make any money.
Well, they took less, and the more you made, they would
Less
take it. Yeah, but I weren't too many of us. I don't think that any of us had ever got that high. No. It really is. Be easy in this kind of market.
Where's the property?
135 north at Seaside Loop.
That's fine.
Let's see,
Sound like I'm gonna leave it.
Doing more point with their entrance.
Oh, at the Indians?
At the end, behind the white fence. So
Oh, you just looked at that?
What is that? That's all, but that does work.
no commercial. I got water, I got sewer, electricity. It's high ground.
That's like when you enter, if you're going into a law point reserve.
It'll be on the north side of the street. As you come.
You come in be on the left. Yeah.
Got it all clear. Covered, half of it
It's
covered
nice.
in trees.
How much? How many acres?
It's 1.68 some odd acres.
People are buying them.
But Aransas first comes all around us. So it'll never develop.
Aransas what?
Aransas first. It's a conservatory for the local ranch.
Oh, so that, yeah.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yeah. 100 acres north of us. They own it. And it wraps around behind one of those barns, so nothing will ever be moved.
It would be a nice area if we had enough people to have some
But
good
The
restaurant.
property is just right for general
Yeah.
Dairy Queen or, something like that.
We need some.
I don't want to do that. But I will not go get a good look.
It's kidding.
And it's just,
The second would be best way. I think.
well,
It's just, it's so inappropriate for this size town. You know, and we needed something, but not that.
We need a decent rest place. Or
Some sort of, some sort of,
Balance. Makes all this maybe.
yeah.
What's the time mark?
well, Steinhart's on there too.
They had a sign, in Corpus.
Yeah, they all went out of business.
Oh, I didn't know. I haven't been shopping in Corpus.
It's not just there, it's the whole.
Goodwill's
Yeah.
taking it from Casper.
What I started saying, gas lady, everything.
Everything goes
Back
back
to the community.
And they're gonna keep it.
70 some odd percent goes to their power ups.
Well, they're
paid employees.
Yeah.
the employees are paid and they have to find a thing to understanding that they cannot buy anything.
That's the way you really do it.
Real employees that cannot buy from the store. Isn't that odd?
That is.
I haven't been in.
I'm not gonna- I refuse.
That's the thing, the next work.
I'd like to go in just to see it, but I won't buy there.
Well, so where are they getting their stuff?
I heard,
Because everybody did everything. I did everything. Disabled, better.
Yeah. they'll come get it.
I heard that they pulled out of all their other stores, all their good stuff, just put it for weeks. So they get really-
Well, the one in Portland is a mess. I mean, it's very filthy in there and clothes are filthy. When they had the other little place, they really had some neat stuff in there, but when they moved over to this one. it's like quality.
Yeah, when I heard that people were going on. This small town, like, two places like that.
They have a discount bar here.
Yeah.
Not here.
No, but they did have a Starbucks.
Yes,
Yeah, that
Well,
was.
it was.
Burger
Was it a
King.
year?
Yeah. It was $4 at that time.
Yeah,
It's $6 now.
yeah, and it didn't want to last because,
Because people weren't gonna pay that. for
well, that was one thing. They didn't have a lot of business. And the other thing was that a lot of the retirees would go in there, but you could sit as long as you wanted to get seconds.
Starbucks. Yeah.
And they were just not making any money at all. So it lasted less than a year.
I don't like their coffee. Too strong.
Yeah, that's me. I'm not a coffee drinker, but that's the word.
Yeah.
It's always.
They had no way to do
It does.
Yeah. Now the place,
The Daily
what's its
Grind.
name?
The Daily Grind. Oh,
They
I,
have good coffee.
I went in there and got a couple of scones and got one in my purse for later. The Daily Grind.
Oh, Daily Grind.
Were they out of their,
The key.
yeah.
No, actually, I went home for one. So they do, but I just wanted something.
They
sweet.
also do breakfast things.
Yeah.
It's, I want to meet the property.
So,
I know. I know.
But they're linked. I tell you what, that little Exxon store in the mall. Right
No, it's not a rush
I
hour.
just do it all the business.
They do, they've got some pretty good charcuterie there.
But
Breakfast.
no, one of the highest producing. The store is the one before you go to the bridge, you like, got wiped out in the store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
It was
one.
like sliced. You know, just ice, soda, beer, and blah, blah.
yeah, because you didn't want to come into town, you just came over the phone.
They could like stretch on some end of that store because they're external. They got so many selling. You know, you get a new roll.
I guess they're not gonna rebuild, no.
No, they're, no, they tore it down, but they're gonna build this sign. Sometimes stores as well as condos. That's a little
So big.
little bitty lot. I don't know how they're gonna do that. They have what's in the stores. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. They have to see it.
Yeah.
Start.
So the three floor maximum area. I think we did. Okay,
Case number 129.
that's okay.
Already?
Yes, yeah.
It's a very formal
Page
page
five.
five.
Actually, not really.
I was
Interesting.
That's the spirit. You're gonna be right here.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Hello. Thank you. This is the way. Okay, am I supposed to turn this in?
You can, if you'd like, you can. Rather than printing out read paper with all the evidence. and stuff.
Can I just do that?
Yeah, it'll be on the screen. You bet.
Take a break.
So we want. You said it was on page five?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, I can again, name, what is, I think that's like. No, I do think that they just need more, and that.
Okay, we're opening the hearing on case ID 2022-129. Count number 18584. Which is 404 South Pearl Street, Rockport. This hearing is being recorded. And let's verify what is under protest.
The protest is Q1, market and equity values.
Okay. We are the appraisal review board, and we'll be hearing your case, your protest today. We do not work for the appraisal district. We are appointed to perform an independent review of the protest. At the end of the hearing, you may complete a survey regarding your experience. The survey may be completed using the survey form, which is conveniently here, and emailed to pcad.communications@cpa.texas.gov, or you can drop it off here without having to get it to the right people. Or if you want to take an online survey, you can go to surveymonkey.com/r/survey ARB. And the survey is voluntary. I don't expect you to remember all those email addresses and URLs. So in the determination, package you'll receive in the mail after the hearing, all this information is also detailed there. You do have the right to appeal our decision, and appeal information is also provided in that determination package. In accordance with tax code section 41.45H, all written material that has not been provided must be provided at this time. So I assume that we have all of your evidence. You turned it in here and they've scanned it and all kinds of stuff. Is that correct?
Yes.
Excellent.
And is there a way for you to date?
Okay. The ARB members who are considering the protest have not communicated with anyone about the protest and we're signing an affidavit to that effect. I, Scott Wagner, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66F.
I have the option to solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66.
I, Joanne Ferguson, solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66F.
I, Ronald M. Sullivan, swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 141.66F.
I, Peggy Bird, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66.
Okay, all testimony from all witnesses must be given under oath. May we ask to swear in at this time.
You can say it out loud and say your name, please.
I do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony I shall present to the appraisal review board for the Aransas County of correct.
And your name?
And sign with them.
Yes, and say your name.
Fellow Arden.
Ray Presley, you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony I shall present to you faithfully before the testimony which is true and correct.
Okay, I need to ask you if you hold a license or certificate from the Texas Appraisers Licensing and Certification Board.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine. You're probably lucky. And just for your interest, the four of us here are the ARB and five of us are. And the gentleman Ray down at the end of the table is the district representative. He's got his name behind the curtain, driving the monitor. Okay, underneath your package here is the hearing procedure times. This is how the hearing will be run. And you have the option, you can either go first, or you can have the district representative go first in terms of presenting evidence and so on. You'll have a number of opportunities to speak during this time. This represents the time period that will be allowed for each section of the hearing. So you get to choose at this point whether you want to go first or whether you'd like the district to go first.
I'm just gonna go first.
Okay, next one.
Okay, so you have 5 minutes to make that.
Okay, so I wrote this down for you guys, and then I had my niece passed away, so this is, I'm fine. Last year, at the state back there, we all came to a mutual agreement, the value of our storage, and here I am sitting again. Last year, it's not this.
I know.
I was informed last year that warehouses had desks and lights and walls. We only have any. We just
If
have,
you need to take a break.
no, I just want to get this done, quick, the system. We have a spot. That I have my child put things, my parents, my kids thing. We had air conditioning, we had lights, we had running water out there. Last year, Mr. Burke compared our storage to warehouses, okay? This year, and he told me last year he was a numbers person. I tutored math, I'm a teacher. Doesn't add up, okay? And I teach reading.
Tissue.
This is not apples to apples, okay? The homes that I pictured that he gave me are really nice. Okay, our shop is a piece of junk. Our storage. You can't compare them. And that's apples to oranges. You're gonna be looking at the pictures of what he sent. But he's comparing what we store, what was left from parking. And we do have one space that's air conditioned. To these homes. And you don't have that, okay? You're gonna be looking at them and saying this is not even comparable, I hope. Am I knowledgeable about values? I would say not. I'm just a school teacher. I was told that last year. I was just a school teacher. But we rebuilt for 25,000 what SBA gave us. So valued at 168, no. You guys agreed last year, will not be whoever's on the board, that it was valued at 75,000. I think that's right and fair. And this is what we should do. We should do right and fair. I didn't read it. Guilty of action. Are we gonna get lights? No, you can get lights. You'll see there's one extension cord. That get the lights. We have junk stored in the bottom. We have a travel trailer stored inside, and we have children stuff. And our parents upstairs. I wish I could have been better, sorry.
But you'll have some more time to ask questions.
When I could. No, my sister's in the hospital, she doesn't know her daughter died.
More time now, or you want to wait?
No, let's just get this.
Okay, go ahead. And then
No, just,
okay,
it's all right, Mr. Presley, what do you want to do?
Did Scott print pictures of? No, I have not. Scott, will you put them?
Sure.
Put some of the photos up, not of the, not so much concerned about the comparisons, but the photos of the pump. Rather, when the photos come up,
Yeah, that's our,
give us an idea of this, the building has a garage on the side and then it has a house on the top, right?
it's storage,
Store,
yeah.
but then the underneath.
The bottom is just nothing but junk, as
But
you
more
can see.
storage, right?
Yes,
Okay.
nothing but junk.
So just when the pictures are up, help me understand, like, that's the garage. Tell me
It's-
when there's a photo of the upstairs space, if there
I
is.
don't know if I included any of that. So that's just, oh, that's upside down. That's my husband's ladders.
Yeah,
Uh,
keep on going. What's that?
that's downstairs.
Garage,
That's, see the light hanging down. That's our only light we have down there. That's just stuff we brought from the house, as you can see, my husband does that.
That's
hard to keep That's when I get mad at him. He goes. Oh, too much. That's all just storage. There's one there. I think I included some stuff upstairs. I think it was that one. There was some other stuff. There's stuff in the suitcase, letters. From my mom.
Yeah.
I don't know. These are all written down in the outside.
Yeah, there's gonna be one at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's that's the outside,
And-
that's the back, right?
None of those air conditioners work. Okay,
Okay.
downstairs.
This is the back of the property. This would not facing Pearl.
That's facing like Safer. I think. Yes, yes, that's Safer.
Now we'll bring up, Scott, if you'll pull up Picto.
That's what looks new is what we use the $25,000. We put it
On the right.
we put back exactly what Harvey took away.
Yes.
Is it blue? Is it blue?
I'm familiar with the street.
Scott, if you'll go to Picto.
I've got to log in. Sorry,
Oh, that's okay. All right, we have time. I'm not gonna-
sorry, yeah,
And
because
my
it's not,
picture's horrible.
none,
Sorry.
none of it is up anymore. It's, you gotta like find Picto and get in.
I'll talk for a second. The appraisal district evidence this year is not income producing warehouse stuff anymore. This property's been removed from that,
Yes.
and now it's being treated similar to the way we would treat everything else, like residential type stuff. So you'll notice if you look at our evidence in the sales grid is gonna be homes.
I did see that. Yes.
So these are homes, these are places that people can live, these are places that have been marketed for sale and sold. So here's one way to think about this. In your mind's eye, if you can imagine Market Street, come through the stoplight, heading this way. And then around the corner, now you're heading down, you're getting to like the old HEB. You turn and you go to Market Street. That little half a football shape that would create. From Market to Business 35 to maybe Magnolia. We raise all those values because of residential sales, 60%. So what I want to do from my perspective in handling this, this is not a house. Last year, the value was placed at 75,000. And
There's a picture.
yeah, there you go. Zoom out, Scott, so these guys can see what we're doing here. Okay, that's Brock's or whatever it's called now. And then that's the Sacred Heart land right there. This is the Methodist Church. This is, oh, no, that's,
We're doing the rest.
which one?
Rosita's.
Rosita's is over there. Okay. Yeah, so this is where you're at.
Right down from Brother. Yes.
Yeah, this is the area that we raised. We raised all of this. And so, what I would turn over to the review board is the reality that we raised all this value because of residential. Ms. Barton is showing pictures that this is, not a residential structure. That we even have a class as a 4 FB minus. We have that there's downstairs and upstairs living space. We have that the square footage of the total thing is close to 12 or 1300 square feet. It's very possible that we're wrong on the square feet, especially if the bottom is not living space. We have that as 754 square feet of living space. We are
maybe for some rats.
Yeah, we are pulling the value down. We'll put a physical adjustment. You see it in that one column there at 70%. And that's just because we know that this isn't right, and we understand that. But regardless of that, we shouldn't be accounting for square footage that's not living space, as living space. That's not anything that we want to do or intend to do, because of the per square foot value of living space is 3 times, 4 times, sometimes 5 times as much as storage. So if it's okay with the board, that's where I'll stop. I'm not gonna go through this whole thing about proving that this residential structure or non-residential structure compares to things, and just say, you guys can figure it out.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, can you tell us what you think it would be?
Why does that roof look so much better than our roof? That's, our roof is not like that.
That's,
And we only replaced that, the one on top of the, it's like awful. We have to replace
As
it.
far as what I could say to do, I'm an appraiser, so it's like I'm a hammer and everything's a nail. So all I can say is change the downstairs space to storage. But I'm telling Scott to do that. Y'all don't get to do that. And then Scott can tell us what that has to the value, because you guys are going to determine value.
Did you have upstairs living space also?
We have it as MA2.
There is no.
No, there is sort of living space upstairs if you consider it to be living space. But the downstairs is, it's
It's not.
for sure, for sure.
So, it's
Yes,
not.
but I do have air conditioning.
I'm trying.
That's that. Or I can just turn it over to you. I'm okay with that too.
Well, she also has some additional time to ask any other questions or offer rebuttal to anything you've heard so far. I'm not trying to cut you off from your,
No,
Available
no,
to speak.
no, I'm where Mr. Presley was, I agree with what he was saying. We did, thank God our travel plan wasn't in there when the hurricane hit, because it would have been blown away. It's just storage, plain and simple. We have water and lights for one part, and it's only so we can have air conditioning running. After Hurricane Harvey, we had a table saw right in where that lawn part was, and then there's tables. I didn't get blown away. Everything else did. So that's it upstairs. So I can fix it.
So you're using this upstairs as storage as well. Nobody's-
okay,
Are you doing anything else? Well, I'm almost screwed up with time. Yeah, else you want to say, you have plenty of time.
No, but I feel better.
Okay, good.
I didn't mean to do that. I just got that
Okay.
text an hour before I walked home.
You have, 2 minutes.
Done. I'm not highly opinionated in this case.
let me ask you a couple of questions myself. You were in here last year,
Yes, sir.
and since last year,
Not one thing is.
that was my question. Okay, everything else-
I was saying, could Scott pull out the square footage?
We can. I mean, there's some things we can do and tell y'all what it would do. We could change the bottom. Don't have to change the bottom to storage under. And help to change the top to MA. Scott, go ahead and do that.
I did that, and it goes from 132.8 on the top to 10, I'm sorry, on the whole of it to 106,530.
I don't see why we're counting the upstairs as living space. It's not being used.
To 106. It went down to 106.
Yes. I mean, I can lower the class of the top also. I mean, I'm sorry,
We could say that again, Scott?
I was gonna say lower the class of the top.
Yeah, no, I was about to say that too. I'd appreciate it if you would.
Yeah.
Just reclass the top. That's appropriate. Hey, Scott.
Yes,
Did you reclass the top?
I did, and I'm not sure where to go. I took it to 3FB minus,
That's fine.
and that takes us now to the total improvement of 94,850.
The total value,
No, a total value of 130,050.
Hmm.
So it took 38 off.
I'm just trying to understand that.
well, Scott told us 106,530, and then you reclassed it, and it ended up being 130.
I'm not gonna go.
Now, 106,530 was just the improvement before. Now it's 94,850 is just.
So how much is the land value?
35,200.
So that second number would be 141. So changing the class took it from 141 to 130.
All right, I have a proposal.
You want to say anything else? You know, a couple of things.
I'm just trying to take it in right now and see what, let's see what, yes.
Right, anything else?
I don't, I really don't.
With our time, this, here's what you were, it's 5 minutes. to do that. So you'll hear what we're talking.
Okay.
Okay, I have a very unscientific approach.
Want to say it?
Yeah.
Assuming that the land's value is appropriate here, okay? And I looked at the increase in land value from last year, which is as a percentage, and then applied that percentage to last year's 51,770. And I came up with a new total value, 85,935.
Well, I took a different approach.
Okay.
I think the land should say as assessed, because the land in that area has gone up. And I would agree with that, sell just the land. But it's like a $12,000 difference upwards from last year in the land. So I basically would take 75,000 plus the 12,000 that went up would be 82,000.
Yeah.
One of you at 87, one of you at 85.
Yeah,
I'm fine at 85.
yeah, because I mean, I did the percentage, we were close in terms of our approach, okay? Which is how do you increase, how do you come up with a value to increase the improvements? I just did a percentage wise.
Yours came out low on that. Actually, it was about 6 or 85.
I was at 82.5, so I think we're in the ballpark. Well, I took the value 75 and I added 10% to it. What was that? And so I can't. I don't know if that's the way to do it, but different approach.
I think we need to make sure that the value of the land
Stays.
stays intact.
Right.
Because I think you're right, it would agree that that area
Value
is
of
obviously
land.
way over, so. I think Scott's approach was online, $1,000 part.
Right.
So if we want to do kind of basically 86,000, I think that would be pretty comfortable.
Yeah. 86.
I'm fine with that.
I'm good with that, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion on your account. If I do 2022-1.9, account 18584. Addressing the market value, appraisal ratio exceeding the former appraisal. And if you look into realtor and protesters, information. Opinion of the ARB, that we reduce the value of the property to 168,000 to the value.
All in favor?
All right.
Anybody opposed?
Please repeat the value.
86,000.
Thank you.
You understand the process or what we ended up with?
Yes, I'm looking at what he sent me, and it said the land land value was 35.2, is that? Yes.
Yes.
I agree.
Excellent. You'll receive the determination package and I suspect we'll see you next year.
Yes, I don't want to do this.
I understand.
It's-
And I wish you could, yeah.
Yeah.
The change to the class change, or change to the spot, that's changes that are, they're permanent in the sense of the word, that anything's permanent around here. But they're permanent, sort of. Everything's sort of permanent here. Until we change.
Right,
Until we
right.
change, yeah.
So I will say. I didn't read it, but I was living in Rockport for about 50 years, I'm just gonna say. Thank you.
Yeah.
And sorry, as a baby, but like I said, I just got that text.
It's okay. You did well.
She had COVID
Really?
last year.
How old?
Yeah. She had 4 kids. But what's worse is she was living in Austin for a while and, when they took the life support off, she continued to live, so we just brought her down to one final focus intention. So she's in the rehabilitation place. So it was, I don't want to say it was expected. But it was,
Do the outcome was coming.
yeah.
So sorry.
So, yeah, my other niece, her sister just texted me. And so like my sister Heidi, she's in the hospital. She's been in there for a while. But they're not. So I'm gonna see my sister. But I'm not telling her either. It's not my place. And I couldn't anyways, because look, I can't handle anything right now. Anyways, I appreciate it. I hope I don't see you guys unless it's at the beach or out at Paradise Key or something, or, but I thank you for your time. Oh,
Very good.
thank you, Barbara.
All right, so we have an affidavit that was submitted. She was supposed to call in, but did not.
Okay. Case ID is. Gotcha.
Thank you.
Right next to.
They are understanding you now.
2022-284. Yes, that's correct. Yes. On there.
Should be on there.
Okay.
Here it is. Did you say this is 2 lots or 2 accounts? Just one account.
Yeah. So you gotta think about it this morning.
Okay, we're gonna commence a hearing on case ID 2022-284. Count number 21093. 115 West Shady Oak Lane, Holiday Beach. This hearing is being recorded. And let's verify. It's an online submission, okay? Okay, thank you. We are the appraisal review board that will be hearing the protest today. We do not work for the appraisal district. We are appointed to perform an independent review of the protest. The protester has the right to appeal our decision. Appeal information will be provided to the protester with our determination. In accordance with tax code section 41.45H, all written material is assumed to be provided with the affidavit. And okay. So the only thing that was provided was a signed and notarized affidavit itself. The ARB members who are considering the protest have not communicated with anyone about the protest and are signing affidavits to that effect. I, Scott Wagger, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person
in violation of tax code section 41.66.
I got the Hoffman, solemnly swear that I communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66.
I, Joanne Ferguson, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66 F.
I, Ronald McCann, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66 F.
I, Peggy Bird, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66 F.
All testimony from all witnesses must be given under oath.
I read Presley, do solemnly swear affirm the testimony shall present to the state. We won't put a ransom on the
Thank you. The district representative will now read the affidavit into the record.
All right, section 1 is the name and mailing address, phone number, email of property owner. Section 2 is the property under protest, 115-116 West Shady Oak Lane, Rockville, Texas, 78382. Section 3, reasons for protest. Incorrect appraised market value and or value is unequal compared with other properties. Section 4 is blank. Section 5, statement, facts, or arguments. There has been no improvement to the land nor the surrounding area. Example, my lots are still surrounded by dirt roads. So, my lot, rear lots still for sale, 164 days or more. Approximately 8,276 square feet less than my property trying to sell. Let me read that again. Compared lots still for sale, 164 days or more. Approximately 8,276 square feet less than my property trying to sell. Section 6, hearing type. I intend to appear by telephone conference call for the hearing. This affidavit and the evidence submitted with it may be used for the hearing if I do not appear in person at the hearing. Section 7 is the name and signature. So this is in Nueces County by Sewell Welty, and Cindy P. Alwyn is the notary. That's the end of the evidence for the property owner. Right, this CAD evidence is as follows. This is 2 lots in Holiday Beach on the west side. And let's see here. 115 Shady Oak. Well, it's a double lot. It's out in the middle of,
On the paved road.
it might be.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah, you'll pay.
okay.
Glen up behind it.
Some of that's new, right? Have those always been paved? or is
No, they're doing 3 or 4 years.
that- Okay,
So has it been that way for a while? I'll show you.
It's been that way since last summer, I think.
Okay.
so the sales grid is as follows. The subject property is 10,000 square feet. And there's a sale for 10,000 square feet on the same side of the road here, side of 35, on the west side of 35. 10,000 square feet sells for 18,000 in April of 21. In May of 21, 10,000 square feet sold for 19,500. In October of 21, 10,000 square feet sold for 21,800. Rendering a value of 19,790 for a weighted value of comparing these things. One sold for $2.19 a square foot, one sold for $195, one sold for $180 square foot. We're currently valuing at $190 square foot. Equity is just gonna be, this is just on the land table, it's all the same. You see, there's no adjustments. 10,000 square feet is $19,000. And just for a little frame of reference for that, let's see how many Holiday Beach sales there are. Kind of fun sometimes in Holiday Beach, 95 sales. So and well over half of them. Well over half, maybe 75%. That's all the district has.
Yeah, this is. I think this value is fair.
Okay, that was. The motion regarding the case ID 2022-24, count number 21093. Investigate the market value and appraisal ratio to appraisal. ARB, that's in the.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Did,
Break time.
Nobody else saw that? Were they all in person? Or phone call?
The last one we did was supposed to be a phone call, and she didn't, but she had an affidavit in.
Go ahead and go ahead.
Yeah. Remember, we already did the two that were on 3. So 3, I think we have like 2, maybe. Yeah.
Oh,
There's
somebody else.
numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It was all of that. Yeah, never mind, there's 6 possibilities.
There.
6 possibilities.
Okay, let's take a minute. I did chat with the attorney a little while ago. There were a couple of things we wanted to get a sense of from her perspective. One of them was whether it'd be okay to put a deadline in the letter that we send on those things on those letters where there was not a protest or there had not been a protest submitted. Just to kind of give some expectation or bounds of what we'd like to see. And she said, we certainly can do that. However, by the letter of the law, as long as the letter includes property ID and the owner's name, that is considered a protest. Now that, from our perspective, from the district perspective, it kind of makes it a little interesting because you don't know exactly what the protest is. And yet verily they can actually show up at the hearing and and we don't know until they get there and they say, I'm protesting X. Or this is something I'm not going to do or whatever. So bottom line is, and I chatted a little bit with Val and Beth, the way these things actually progress is when we approve a letter or when we approve a late hearing request, they automatically open up a protest system.
Who's they?
They in the district.
Okay, the district, okay.
And in the letter, we will include something that just says, please submit your protest as soon as possible. And they said in most cases, they do. I don't think it's necessary to go into any detail or any particular thing to say you got 2 weeks to do it, because the bottom line is they can just say, good, I'm not going to submit any paperwork, I'm going to show up in time. So that's the long and short of that aspect. And I think it'll get handled okay in the letter. And if they get a protest submitted, great. Not, well, that's the way that goes, and there's not what you can do. The second thing I chatted with her about was good cause reasons. And I said wasn't trying to get an exhaustive list of good cause things, it's more so that we can try and get some information and that so that we can be consistent in how we do approvals or denials late protests. And she said, you know, technically that if it's an unintentional or inadvertent failure, that's okay. That's not terribly helpful for us.
No.
So she's saying pretty much any reasons, okay?
Well, as long as it's not clear from the letter, like they say, I was too busy to submit it, or it got lost on my dining room table and I just, you know, found it and I'm sending you in that kind of thing.
It's okay.
No, that's not okay.
Okay, yeah, good.
Yeah,
So then what we said about, the address being wrong because they never.
Oh, that's
not all.
that in that case is
That's clearly their fault.
clearly their fault.
Yeah, right, okay, I'm just making sure.
Yeah. So here's what I'm gonna do. And Kathy, if you have an opportunity, you know, to scratch down any thoughts that you have. There are certain things that we go through in the course of running our hearings, running the ARB and so on. Some things, and majority of things are shown in, you know, procedures, but we don't want to burden procedures with so much minutia that, you know, they're not really helpful. Plus, we're not going to spray it. So there are things that we just know or have as quote guidelines or guidance. Lots of it is a give and take with the district. Like a good example is the thing on telephone, right? Procedures say 10 days, or the law says 10 days, the procedures say 10 days. The district just knew that if we bring them anything that's 3 days or less, that we were going to approve it. So that was kind of an informal agreement between the district and us. And we'll write that down. I'll start creating a list of these kinds of guidelines and so on. And we'll just start creating a list. I'll kind of, it's not going to be exhaustive to start off with. But just some things that are typical things that we hear in letters, just based on what we remember in letters that we've had. You know,
So I want me to think about the number of
yeah,
those letters we've received in the past, but it's just.
yeah, and we'll just try and start developing this because something to refer back to. Exactly, and the key thing here that we want is that's it. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful for future boards, right? Because we may all want all of the things, that's it, and then they're gonna have a whole new board to figure out, you know.
Right.
It's just like it's driving.
And you know, I was first time on the board last year, and,
Yeah.
and I in a lot of cases prefer to, you know, go to well, they're dead or they're sick, rather, and that kind of thing. You know, this is okay to accept the issue. Okay. But I agree with you. It would be helpful for our purpose, for the agency as well, to pass on to our heirs. On the board.
Okay.
And if you guys have, if you come up with any situations that we want to include in the list and answer, you may say, well, what happens if? What happens if? Whatever. The dog ate the paper.
Yeah, it's all right.
The dog ate the paper.
Yeah. It really might be.
So we'll just kind of circle in on development.
I will say, as far as I can. As far as I can remember, most of them have been.
Yeah, that.
you know, I'm sick or relatives are sick or I'm out of town, traveling, or business or visiting sick relative. I would say that's probably the greatest percentage of them. Every once in a while, I'll get one. That's like in the bottom. Well, this by a day or whatever, very rare. Mostly, you know, healthy issues is one of
Yeah.
Well, it's not that we're sensitive to their circumstances, but it has to be consistent.
And I've never heard anybody say, well, you did it for him, and now you're not doing it for that guy. I haven't heard that, but we certainly want to protect ourselves, and if nothing else, just be consistent.
right. Neighbor, friends, and same situation.
Yeah, what if you know? What if you know about their situation and it's, you know, that's tricky too, you know?
We personally know that.
Right.
It's a good question because we're supposed to be, you know. Normally, you're not doing things like that.
You would not know those.
Yeah. Being a store realtor, right, or like I am. I don't know as many as I used to, but I might know. Something.
Right.
It's hard not to say.
Yes.
I don't know. For instance, right now, We all know. Yeah. That was. I did say something. I don't like. What is it?
Yeah, I don't know that you can nail down a scenario kind of thing. Things about costs of sales should be, that information should be available.
Well, we are odd. We do have what's presented.
Yeah.
That's the proof there, not my personal thing, so to speak, you know. I think that gets to be, you know, questionable, like, but I really want to say what this game is. Right. And you have to hope that all that is prepared to you so we can make that decision. And usually it's always, you know, this is out to get anybody. And we're not out to get anybody either. We just want to do what's fair.
Okay. Getting pretty good
You
at
can.
Candy.
Candy.
Yeah.
Really good idea.
Oh, that's okay. That's what I'm here for. Yeah.
Yeah. And like.
You know what?
Borrow.
I know that was. Yeah, I can, that's my favorite. It's okay, you didn't know this thing.
Oh, I think.
And we didn't take.
I do too. Well, you were a little scratchy. I'd like to go find one.
I'm always picking up things. Not necessarily, but anything. It's up in my hand.
Mine too, especially if I like to read.
I always do it on purpose, it's just automatically happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay, so.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, it seems like you're always able to get enough of the water.
Yeah, sometimes late Friday and things like that, which I kind of understand. I've not had a problem where I needed to really talk to her, that I wasn't able to get a hold of. Which is neat.
They're on retainer, so it's not like every time you call it, charge like you would. You're a regular.
They do
Fine.
charge. I don't think it's a retainer relationship. I think they charge by the hour.
How many?
That was the impression I got when she interviewed.
Yeah, and based on what I saw from the previous invoices from Skip, it detailed what was done and how much time it took.
Oh, okay. Wasn't sure about that first.
What I don't know is how precise they are, like if I call and talk for 5 minutes, it's an hour. It may be, but
Lawyer.
yeah.
Is there a budget or it's just sort of open?
To my knowledge, the last I heard was there was a $5,000 line item in the appraisal district budget for the ARB return. I don't know how, since they don't give me, like, they don't pass the invoices by me or anything like that, I really care to see it either.
Yeah, I know. I did one of them. I didn't do both of them.
So that when she sends in an invoice, it gets intercepted, and Josie, who's the administrative person here, deals with it.
Woke up this morning, I said,
And there's never,
we got paid amazing.
to my knowledge, and I have Charlie about it too, they just deal with it.
They don't say to you,
Did you do this?
yeah,
Or-
did you do this? Can you sign that? Yeah. Huh, interesting.
Now,
That's interesting.
in some respects, and I guess we'll see if, if there's a run rate that might start to get their attention. They get close to their budget line item.
It starts to be a big dollar amount.
Yeah.
This is correct.
But you've got the three of us new, you're new. Well, all of us are new at the job, basically. So I'm sure there's gonna be a lot more questions. Okay.
Yeah, and it's.
Okay.
Mike has,
Yeah, I broke my-
Suggested. and he errs on the side of caution.
It's still an area.
Certainly seems like you suggest contacting the arrangements by the attorney more often
Yeah,
than what I would call it during my experience, which is okay. I don't know.
Just want to cover the, I don't know. There's so much changing,
It looks good. It looks great. I really like it.
And that way.
No, it looks.
Well, in part,
It's an important issue.
yeah.
So that's the first one. Having a strength, right?
You earned the paper, no question about it.
Just to think it's just a run away at the end of the day.
You're probably going to do again.
Yeah. A lot of money.
Well, trees.
Oh, I know that there's something, yeah. Or is it- That night, I did one of them, pretty nasty. All right,
So we're waiting for the 3 o'clock. Thank you.
don't bother. Yeah. I thought of it as you were driving out. Remember? Oh, well, that would be better, okay. And if you're not, let me know. Okay.
Finish up, did you get all your?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll be the moon, like what? Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I'll do it. You leave it on. No, I'll make the one, I'll leave the one on done. Actually, I don't know how. People use the one that works. No, we're never need, we're never need, I lost you in the job. Okay, bye.
They're starting to bury those kids and now
Wow. I mean, you have. About 85%. So the number is. Not being, so. It's almost a process. Oh, okay. Yeah, so. Yeah, so it's a process.
Yeah. You have to go find somebody else. Yeah.
I did stop in at the Daily Drawing, to get scones and water. $1.10 for a bottle of water.
Cheap, and that's on, that's probably cheap.
Probably, yeah.
You have to go to some of these, like Disney World or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
$7 or $8 for a bottle of
Yes.
size.
Yes.
Sorry.
So,
And some of these parks have just gone way overboard with making money. The only reason I know that, I heard them giving some comparisons about what. Either ball games or football or.
oh, that's
hockey or
ridiculous.
whatever, same thing, they're all like. I mean, they got a, happy audience.
Yeah,
You
be your
can't bring your own,
$10.
can't bring your own, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get you.
You can
I
keep
think
it.
Disney World is just off because of being made to be like every other company in Florida. In terms of the taxation and all
Yeah.
Well, the question is financially, is it going, it may be better for them to get rid of all this stuff. And not be
that.
responsible.
They've been that way. So, I don't think they would do that. Probably, you have to, it's something everywhere, yes.
Well, they're not going to have it as good quality of service in these areas they have because they no longer run it. And now, and the priority is no longer on what's going to make Disney World look good or function well.
That's why I didn't want to put it.
What needs, I have, what is that?
It is the one we're gonna be doing next.
Oh, Robert, we have one.
Oh, that's a big, yeah, on the. Oh,
They have two accounts.
112 and 113. Three o'clock. You want both of them?
Sorry?
Do you want both of them at the same time?
Don't give
Or
it
do you like
like
one, maybe one at a time?
Oh, no, you can leave both here, that's fine.
And do you want to wait or do you?
I have no problem with starting, you can round up.
Okay, guys.
Okay. Case ID 112 and case ID 113.
Page 7, the first and second. Someone here,
Yes.
okay,
Carlos.
give her a little.
Okay.
Like that 4220R. In the rear, I'm thinking.
Okay, R would be weird.
I think so.
Which one did you finish?
Well, 112 first.
Yeah, let's do that. That's my answer.
One is it? One is the house on it. Hello?
112,
Well,
interesting because there's no change.
Yes.
Let you know that Dr. Harris did okay your refill, but that he states that you need to get
Sorry.
that it'll be the last time he refills it for you because he's requested the drug screening you haven't done it yet.
Because of what? Say that again, why?
Because the drug screening you did,
Okay, so I do have an appointment, I think, before a month is up, so, that'll be okay, then, when I come in for that, I'll do that. Oh, that's fine, thanks so much. Okay, bye. Sorry.
The rear property. This one right here. That's the next one, that's the rear.
Oh, okay. What does that mean?
R is the rear, it's behind.
Are you in the grades?
We just didn't put the blue line.
You'll see it in there.
Yeah, I just made it all the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
Level 3 and all the.
So. I just wondered if, all the noise was crazy.
Not everybody is.
Right?
So, but they cut things with them.
Well, when you said easy to get from one to the other.
It looks like it, or to the middle.
They're connected.
It may just be how they're run. That happens.
The river goes around that whole property. That's still attached to the building.
Hello,
Hi, well.
let's get you another chair. Here you go, you guys can. Let's see here. David, are you ready?
Yeah.
Yes. You just drop down to the signatures. All the way down to signature. Right there, yep. Thank you.
Take time. For water.
We'll let you know when it's your turn.
Okay, we are going to commence the hearing on case ID 2022-112. Account number 62720. Now you have two accounts. We're going to do each one separate. This is 4220 Highway 35 South. This hearing is being recorded. Just verify exactly what we have on the claims. Okay, thank you. So we are the appraisal review board that will be hearing your protest. We do not work for the appraisal district. We are appointed to perform an independent review of the protest. At the end of the hearing, you may complete a survey regarding your experience. The survey can be completed using the survey form, which is here. If you'd like to take one with you, or you can take it and fill it out and drop it off at the front desk, or email it. So you can take the form and either drop it off or email it to pcad.communications@cpa.texas.gov. Or if you'd like to take an online survey, that's available at surveymonkey.com/r/survey ARB. The survey is voluntary, and I don't expect you to have remembered all of the URLs and email addresses like just mentioned.
Are they on the form?
Those
emails or? No, I don't.
on that.
That is a copy of it.
Oh, okay.
That's a good question. I never actually looked at it.
I don't see,
Yeah, it's there at the top of the form.
oh, and down in the bottom for additional company.
Now, up the very top, there's filing instructions, and it says electronic, paper, and email. and it's got the address. However, having said all that, you will receive, after this hearing, you'll receive a determination package through the mail, and then this information is also included. So you also have the right to appeal our decision. Appeal information is also provided to you with that determination. So in accordance with tax code section 41.45H, all written material that has not been provided must be provided at this time. And you have submitted, I assume, all of your, anything that you're going to be using as evidence today.
They submitted the thumb drive.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Is this on the screen now?
With the stuff on your thumb drive, they'll put it on.
Right.
the computer.
Sure.
They have to use a separate computer.
The one that I put right now.
That would be your protest form, but then that would be good in the district. So you don't see the other. Would you just
Okay, the ARB members who are considering the protest have not communicated with anybody else about the protest and are signing an affidavit to the effect. I, Scott Wagner, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66.
I got a problem, that's on where I communicated with person.
I just want to get somebody solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66.
Ron McCann, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66.
I pay further solemnly swear that I have not communicated with a person in violation of tax code 41.66.
And all testimony from all witnesses must be given a past swearing at this time. Beth will help guide you through that.
Each one of y'all are going to read the statement aloud and state your name. Going to go ahead. First name.
I do solemnly swear before affirmed that the testimony I shall present to the appraisal review board for the Aransas County Appraisal District is true and correct.
And state your name.
Bonnie Costas.
And sign the front.
I do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony I shall present to the appraisal review board for the Aransas County Appraisal District is true and correct. My name is Carlos Casas.
So, wait.
My name is Jamie Burke. Solemnly swear or affirm the testimony shall present to the appraisal review board for the Aransas County Appraisal District is true and correct.
Okay, I need to ask both of you if either of you hold a license or certificate from the Texas Appraisers Licensing and Certification Board. Okay, fine. Fantastic. All right, here you will see the hearing procedure times. It's broken into two sections. One is if you go first, or the other is if the district goes first. You'll have several opportunities to talk, present evidence, rebut, and respond. But you get to choose whether you go first or the district goes first.
We have to decide whether we go first or they go first.
So they won't intimidate us.
No.
With their explanation.
Right now, we're so real strong.
You say you're going for
They want to go.
Yeah.
But that's my, what do you, how do you?
Yeah.
it? You have 5 minutes for your presentation right now, and then we'll just all over.
Okay, before we start, who's gonna flip the,
He will.
he will, okay. Okay, can we go to, number 2? Everybody see that? Okay, that's a list of the abandoned railroad properties, neighboring properties to our.
Scott, could you do an F5 so you go?
Perfect. We have a abandoned property, that 0.75 property up in the house. We have, listed neighboring railroad properties that are equal or equitable to our property. And that, we believe that the cost per square foot is not fair. Okay.
And you can see the different. Some, like the top one is 1 cent,
Under the cost.
6 cents, 16 cents, 1 cent. Ours is 39 cents.
Under the cost / square foot, everybody see that? Yes, okay, that's, go all the way down, so you can see basically. All the other properties that are abandoned are less than ours by far, and we're at 39%. Everybody okay with that? Yes.
This increased in 2020, it increased. But these others did not.
That's what we think is unfair. Okay, anything else? Next, please. Okay, this is our property. You can see it's unpaved. Driveway, the flood when it rains. It has natural vegetation. And there's dead trees that require removal. In this area here, we do not have utility view. Next, please. There's a neighboring property less than 1,000 feet away. This is Bahia Bay property. It's professionally landscaped and maintained, as you can see. Professionally designed sprinkler system. That's reasons like a golf course. You have mature trees and shrubs. In this case, they have palm trees. And they do have a paved driveway. And they're at 1.15% per square foot. Next, please. This is another abandoned railroad property. This is over by City of the Sea. Again, it's professional landscape and maintained professionally designed sprinkler system, mature trees and shrubs. It also has a paved driveway, and they're at 6 cents and 16 cents per square foot.
There's two property
Property on the far side of this.
on this side. There's
On the bottom.
no, we're across
No,
the
we're
street.
across because that's all safe place to take pictures.
So we're across the street.
I understand.
Yeah, the palm
Yeah,
trees and the
yeah.
yellow house, that area there.
Okay, so those are two properties you can see is 51,040 and 15,1. Anything look fine? Next, please. Okay, there's another neighboring property which is equitable and same railroad type of abandoned property that same as ours, basically, Palm Harbor. Again, they're professional landscape and maintained, the professionally designed sprinkler system. They also have mature trees and shrubs. They have a paved driveway, and they're 1 cent. Anything else?
No. Yeah, all these properties are on Highway 35 South. They're not in Fulton or on the bypass. They're right like from us, north and south.
Yeah,
from us,
and
on the
again,
same side of the highway.
you know, I don't know if anybody was here back when the railroad was there. Basically, it's an abandoned railway. Okay, right on 35. And these folks are within 1,000 feet to maybe an eighth of a mile, just in the same area. Anything else? Okay, next, please. Again, this abandoned property, railroad property, this is belongs to Mr. Fisher. And it's at 1.1 cent, and this is natural vegetation. Again, this is about eighth of a mile, almost or less. Anything else? Okay, next, please. This is another property that belongs to Mr. Fisher at 1.1 cent. And again, you have natural vegetation, which is equal type of railroad property as ours.
These properties all the same size.
Approximately 0.7.
One of these Steve Fishers might be 1 point something acres. We have it here. But pretty much
Yeah.
0.8, 0.7, you know.
And it's all railroad property, and basically it has to do with the dimensions of the highway frontage, okay? And it can be anywhere from 0.7 acres to
So
0.8.
the first one was 0.8 acres of Steve Fisher, and the second one, which is this one, is 3.764 acre.
Okay, so he bought a large amount of the railroad
And the city
property.
by the sea was 1.7 acre. And then they had a little corner that was 0.3 acre.
Yeah, thank you. That's your 5 minutes. You'll have 4 minutes again. Okay.
Oh, is that what it was?
Oh, that's what that was.
Oh, okay.
That's the other ones, yes.
Okay, oh, alright.
The district now has 5 minutes for their presentation and 2 minutes to ask you any questions for 7 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So there's really any reason to switch back over, Scott.
We look here.
We know where we are. Fine.
Maybe look up there.
Well, we can't, because we were explaining that, so,
We had-
excellent, yeah, you found it. Perfect.
Okay.
Got it.
I think if you,
Okay.
like, see the whole, yeah, that's okay. You saw that. You need to-
That's okay, thank you.
So this is 4220 Highway 36. And you notice at $13,130. Going there of the property. And it is contiguously owned by the property. The sale grid has a note on it. It says that the land value has been adjusted to 21.5% versus what normal land table is. That impairment is because it is this little railroad range. So it's not getting the same price per square foot as the rest of the property behind it. The comps, it looks like. First one is 2202 Highway 35 South. These are gonna be land sales in that area. See, we're on 188, trying to, I don't know where any of these are exactly, see the addresses, but. Let's see. 3504 Highway 35 North, that's a. What that means.
Right.
I guess these are just frontage properties, these are just vacant frontage, so like general frontage across the whole county. So the reality is, these things are, these little sections of land are kind of weird. Sometimes they are owned by people who don't own anything but the little railroad, right? They just own that little strip, pretty useless. And then sometimes people own what's behind it, who don't own that thing, and it's kind of a headache. It's sort of like, well, it's sort of like a speaker and a radio. You know, if you have a radio with no speaker, it's useless. If you have a speaker with no radio, it's useless. But if you put them together, the speaker is probably actually the best part. But on its own, it's what you have. So this is just access, what it is, access for the rest of this property behind it. You know, I don't know, but on the equity grid, if you look at the, that's really the main argument, the equity argument. Because this thing obviously is worth more than what we know is the map. I mean, in reality, it's contributing a lot more than $14,000 in property value. It just is way more than that. But as far as equity, you know, other ones next to it, we've got four, it says comps are all similar Highway 35 frontage properties. So a very small little, see, one of these 16,000 square feet, 27,000 square feet, 48,000 square feet. And let's see what kind of values we got. This thing adjusts land on an equity grid, and it's just land in here. So we've got one of them's a little bit bigger for 24,000. And it's a little smaller for about the same price. And one that's a little bit bigger. Or no, it's half the size for about the same. And then one that's 130,000 square feet, and it's 50. So that's a little bit less per square foot. Yeah, how can equity value be 13,030 and the market value 40.8? Oh, because this thing's way off what it's actually worth. It's way off. Because it's on its own, let's keep looking at there. It's by itself, so it's just a little chunk of property. When considered as being part of the economic unit of the entire thing, its own,
it's worth way more than 14. It's like, it's contributing way more value. This is looking at the value of land that's like frontage property. The frontage, if you didn't have frontage, you can't get to it. The frontage is, in a lot of ways, is the most important thing to get right. What's happening is the land table that is on, which is underneath there, the whole area, this thing has just basically an arbitrary function. Saying whatever values we normally get, it's about a fifth of that per square foot. And it's just because it has this right of way on it and it's impaired and it's only for access and you can't ignore the fact that there is like a lasting right. So that's how it's being accounted for. It is a matter of degrees of what, you know, how much should that be adjusted down to? You know, should it be 1/1000th of the value? Should it be half the value? Like, where do we put it? The value changed 2 years ago because the land table changed. Like, land value went up, so did this one, everything. But like it says here, the land value on here is 21.5% of what it would normally be. There is not some scientific way that 21.5% was arrived at this year. Maybe it was like, I don't know when that number was, that adjustment was first applied. Maybe somebody had something they were looking at 10, 15 years ago. But it's just holding the value now. 21. That's it. That's all it is. I mean, not a whole lot of like rational mathematical process.
But the value hasn't changed in the prior year.
Yeah, it was changed in 21.
Okay, to 13,130.
Right.
And so now it's still 13,130.
Yeah, nothing happened to the land table this
Okay.
year. Oh, right.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
I am.
You just said in 20, there was a change. The change made it 13,130. It wasn't like they came
Right.
and protested or anything.
Right.
Okay.
And we didn't come because of COVID. We were
And that's
kind of
okay.
staying
I'm just.
He's trying to get the year going.
Right.
And
I guess I'm confused. Are y'all protesting this value? With
13,130.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm on the-
But it was that, it didn't change any.
It went from 780, it was 7,800.
Not last year.
No,
Well,
Last
to be-
year was-
To be fair,
We weren't,
the
Going out.
valuation every year is January 1st, regardless of what it was last year.
Right.
The valuation for just as it sits right now. When they're protesting saying that it's too high, they're not saying the change was too much, which you cannot protest that unless you have a homestead. It's that they just think the value is too high. That's-
Y'all
So it
think,
doesn't matter what it was. It could
Right.
have been higher or lower than last year. It's fine.
Okay. Scott, can we go backwards to one of the original slides? Okay, and each one of these properties you've listed here, you have a separate page on each one, is that correct?
yes, there's a picture, that's the pictures that we saw.
Okay, because I just want to make a note of some of these. 5, 1,
Yeah, so the first two are in front of the Bahia Bay, these are city by the sea. These are gonna be kind of by themselves.
Yeah, and then that Palm Harbor. But these people have not had their property values change in over 20 years.
Right.
What's up with that?
Well, when you see these little tiny numbers,
Yes,
I can just tell you, those are flat value, those are just like, there's nothing calculating that value, it's just saying. That's $440, because there has to be some number put on it. It could be $10,
so otherwise it would be free.
it's worthless.
So how come ours can't be free?
Because yours is not worthless.
Well, what, I mean, they're a subdivision, people live there, they sell and buy houses there for thousands of dollars.
Right. But they're, I mean, like the Steve Fisher one, this is just nothing. There's no use for that property. The property, like the first thing you do when you appraise something after you identify it, is you have to figure out what the highest and best use of that property is. And the highest and best use for this thing on Gulf Gate Boulevard, by City by the Sea, is nothing. It's just a ditch. You can't put a house on it. You can't put a business on it. You can't do anything. All the value of that is being distributed into the value of the home behind it. So it's like a golf course. Golf courses are very expensive. They look really nice, but they're worthless. Nobody wants a golf course.
Isn't that what you just said about our property? This railroad
Yes.
property is useless, it's
Yes.
only to
That's why
access
it's
the property.
$14,000 instead of what it would actually be if it was on a regular.
Well, how
lane.
come it can't be 400?
Again, there's no.
4,000?
See, this is not tangible. You said there's no mathematic, equation, so this is just your opinion.
Yeah.
And we're basing it on, we have facts. And if there isn't an equation or some kind of something that you have that could base it that's tangible, we have tangibility. We have our neighboring properties that we can base it on. Now, you said earlier that it's worth a piece of property. Come on. Land is always
Worth something.
worth something.
Not,
Okay?
not getting do anything. Like,
Well,
literally, some of
and-
those, some
and
people
so-
here
And so,
cannot do anything. Like,
well, if I could, we could, see some of the slides here. Can we see the next slide, please? Oh, that's our property, okay?
So you're saying we can do something with that and they can't?
That piece of property, something to
cannot
be
do
built.
anything.
Well, okay, I'm getting confused. Okay. So at some point, and y'all still have time to talk.
Okay.
At some point, I want to switch back around so we can look at the concrete. To get a sense of where these properties are with respect to the subject line.
If you notice, that property right there has that, where the water can go out, there's irrigation there that's been built by somebody.
I
Our
understand.
property doesn't have that, it holds water.
You can't build it.
And there's nothing connected to this that is, it's used for. It's not the driveway to the land behind it. It's just the ditch, like what's behind it. If you owned just that piece of land, it doesn't do anything. Nobody behind it is using it for anything. The frontage on y'all is actually your driveway.
Well, that's their driveway, they use it to get to their houses,
Not.
and it's a selling point for the neighborhood. They have flags and they're landscaped and, I mean, if it looked trashy and with natural landscape, nobody wanna go live there.
Here's the thing, if your property was platted differently, if you didn't have that red line, you wouldn't be having this conversation.
It is platted differently. It's separate from the
The
rest of the
whole
house.
thing is completely hypothetical. There's no reason to assume that your property is worthless just because there's a red line on the map. Like if I'm standing out there, that's your yard.
So if that was a whole piece, because the other property, you guys are charging it 75 cents a square foot. So you'd say that's what they would be worth, right? Where right now it's 39 cents a square foot because it's worthless.
Right, because it has a railroad easement on it. That's what I'm saying, this 21.5% is a gimme, it's a coupon. That's all it is. It's just saying, yeah, this is some kind of weird railroad frontage. Now, how much that should be is in a matter of judgment.
It seems like preference, I mean,
We have, the folks next door to us, they're using the railroad property as part of it. Okay,
people are building.
sure. And
They're
how-
not getting their 21%. Just,
But not on that property, they're not building.
theirs is just, it is what it is.
just that they do.
We have them on in the next thing, we have them.
Yeah, and that piece of property, the railroad.
Huh?
It can be built on, the folks next door built on that property. I may have pictures for that.
You're talking about the,
Rockport cottages, Rockport, whatever.
It's on your tablet.
That property has no utilities, there's no water out there, there's no electricity, there's no sewer system from the city of Rockport,
So
that
you're,
railroad property.
and you're saying that there's, we're connected to the house or property leads to the next property. And going back to your golf course, example, in this case, the folks next door, they built on their railroad property, and you said they cannot be built on, and they can, and they didn't.
I didn't say.
Okay, right.
So
And
you can't build the one in the Gulf Gate Boulevard. The one in front of Palmer, it's not You can't buy that and put a gas station. The ditch for Palmer. Actually.
Okay, well,
But it's separate property, it's not included with the, like you said, well, our railroad property should be included with the rest of our
Okay,
acreage.
so what do you think this piece of?
So if you go to right there,
I'm asking you for your opinion. What do you think this piece of land is?
so according to the
I'm
other
asking
one,
you for your.
3.8 cents per square foot.
if it would be fair, that would be fair.
That's, am I doing that right? It's $12.54, $1,254. Is that right? School. What did you say? What did you say?
3.8.
33,000 square feet. It's 1254.
It's 33,000.
12,000.
No, I mean,
1,000.
Right, yeah. Right.
So.
What was it worth before, what was the value of it before this? 2020.
It used to be 23 cents a square foot. Before you guys changed it in 2021.
Yeah.
And it had been that way for 1918 since we bought it, because that's what we bought it for.
But we paid 23 cents a square foot then, and why do you think it's worth 3.8 cents now?
Well, now, because we never had to protest it before. So now you guys brought it up and we're saying, well, why? You didn't bring up these other people's property, which are our neighbors, you know, why is ours being brought up? So if it's, you know, if we're looking at that, then maybe it needs to be like theirs, 3.8 cents.
and what Bonnie did, she took an average of all the neighboring properties. And what their tax and came down with an average of 3.8.
It's all right.
Which,
Can we go to slide number 2, please? Okay.
Go ahead, give me more.
Bonnie took the average, ma'am, sorry, the Hoffman. To answer your question, just kind of following up.
I see that.
Yep.
There.
it was a mean average. I don't know, divided by how many properties there, except not ours.
Anyways, why were you saying that?
Yeah.
I'm okay with whatever it was. I don't have, I'll do what y'all do. I know, I'm just saying. All right, what do I think it's worth? I think we all know that it's worth more than this. We're not, again, it's not a, we're not having like a scientific discussion. You're adding up numbers, but it doesn't matter. There's already like a huge adjustment on it. It's arbitrary. What is it worth? Tell me anything is worth $1,300. But we haven't noticed.
Okay, so from an equity standpoint, since I can't visualize these properties in relation to the subject property. This is next door, next door, next door, next door, next door kind of thing. Make to get that. So Scott looks like he's gonna switch things around. If you can read my mind. That's scary. It is
What
very.
they're talking about, yeah.
It's just the pictometry.
That's the property.
That's not a problem.
That's 66792. That's one of the ones on there.
Property.
And that's, I did the map to pick out these property right that are all next to us.
That's nothing but a drainage.
Well, that's what ours is, nothing but a drainage ditch. The highway drained onto our property when it rained.
It floods.
That's how it does in the whole county.
Well,
I know, I guess Rockport is, people were buying Rockport and building it.
I have a question. So you own the property behind it?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay,
That's another property.
but
Can we zoom out, touch more? At some point, we'll.
yeah, I think that's probably better.
Okay,
Scale down,
62720.
down, down.
Now.
Close.
Oh, it's quite a ways
There's
away.
627.
I think it's close without.
There you go, okay.
okay, that's, yeah.
Now, if you zoom out a little more,
The other one does have.
so of the properties that you had in your list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other properties. Where does any one of those reside? with respect to your-
The second, that's right there, but come in, by here, man. By here, man. And wait, yeah, come down.
Yeah, I can see Scott circling 6, one of them.
Okay,
And then, the next,
wait, did you get 2 of them there? What's 2 of them?
the 3A is probably pretty close to that.
They will, you have entrances in.
They do.
Yeah, they enter in
Yeah.
the property behind. And then all of this is open land.
So I mean, Fisher stuff is way up, still further up the highway. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, so,
okay.
yeah, right there.
So what was his
That's pretty
was,
That's a far distance.
His was the lowest price.
But this is the furthest from your property.
Yeah, yeah, they weren't not exactly maybe down the road, but less than a mile.
Now, your next door neighbor right above you, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on railroad property.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's cottages.
Yes.
Yes, I think it's
So they have that-
25 of them there.
I'm sorry, Bahia Bank had, did we identify the 2 properties in Bahia Bank? Everybody see that?
Yes.
I don't know, the attorney.
Okay, so that's less than 500 feet away.
Okay.
The cottages are next door to you.
The cottages, all their property is all land, they don't have railroad property.
what?
That is railroad
They're
property.
all together, it may be, but it's not listed as railroad property.
It's gotta be, because you can't go from.
These are condo lines. You can buy one of these and you own the house and an interest in the condo.
Okay, Scott, could you find 15166?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Economic
Yeah.
development.
I don't care what email it to you. Okay, I might have a copy of her. Hold on. I think it's everything.
A whole lot of documents.
Yeah, and when I read it, I'm gonna lose my whole life. So,
Entrance to the shower. Same stuff.
I like to-
160.
15166.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, unfortunately, clearing gold.
Yeah.
Okay, because that one was 16 cents.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it is.
Yeah, just a little triangle.
Actually, I know, you know, and then you use the word loose here as a ditch,
Yeah, there's.
but the entire, we're a peninsula on a peninsula, so, you know, the whole place is a.
Big ditch.
Yeah. We choose to
Pretty
live here,
much.
we choose to live here.
Right now,
Couldn't buy that one. Can't buy it. Okay, we're getting way out of time with this here. So I think. You have anything else you want to add? No. Give anyone want to, yeah, you're just talking. Determination. Like.
Well, you ran out of reason.
Okay, I just want to ensure that both Bahia Bay properties, which is one, which are, less than 500 feet away. And I just, I'm thinking that maybe that wasn't on the screen, but does everybody understand? Right. Is it our 5 minutes? In?
no, we're done, we're done. Unless you, do you think we need more time? I think we're done.
Okay. Thank you.
We have 5 minutes.
Do we stay here or do we leave?
No, stay, yeah.
What were you calculating?
I would just,
To me, the evidence is very presented. Seems realistic, and the research is based on what the sort of what the district's information, like maybe it says, maybe it's not. Doesn't have to be this, but it will know why. So I'm more inclined to feel that.
And then how are you?
Based on what the average is 3.8 cents an acre.
Just something to think about. If we could scroll back up there, if that property provides entrance to the back property, there's no dedicated easement across there. So that property is very valuable to the back part, in my mind. Because if they did not own that piece of property, they couldn't get to the back property. Because there's no deeded easement across it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think it's more valuable.
I think it's a little more valuable, you know.
Well, I don't think it should be discounted more than what they've been paying for the last, how many years? Years, prior to. Yeah.
Maybe there is an easement, they don't show it up here, I don't know, maybe y'all know if you have one, I don't know. But to me, if I was owning the back, that piece of property is valuable to me because of access. And that's just me saying. I'm good. Where do y'all go?
I'm kind of with Joanne. I think it was 7,800 for subscribers to the corporal and I guess I'm really not comfortable with going all the way down. So.
No, I'm not either.
No, I'm not either. I would be comfortable with going to 10. That's just a figure, 10,000.
Yeah, because
That's all.
So I will
I think it's for about 2003 or somewhere.
I think all that time it was 70,000.
Yeah.
They never.
No,
Yeah, I think we told them how much we paid for it from the railroad company. And that's what they.
Ron makes a good point too. about
Yeah, yeah,
accent.
Right.
Yeah, so
But,
it's more
you know, I
valuable.
think it should come up some, but not to the price. 10 is, I'm comfortable with that.
I'm okay with that. That's just a figure that I,
Yeah.
and what it was, to it's coming off of the value now.
It's better off than I. There's so many.
Yeah.
A lot of.
Regardless of all, there has been some, there has been.
Come back.
Some companies.
I'm good.
All right. Case ID 2022 112 count 6270. The addressing incorrect credit market value, trade war 13, level trade law. After listening to protesters and my district, it's the achievement of the ARB. Value of 13,030.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. if you understand, so we did, we reduced it to 10,000. Yes. Okay. That closes this hearing. We're going to go to the next hearing. I'm not going to go through the entire script, we'll just go through the hearing. So we're opening a hearing on case ID 2022-113, account number 65353. The ARB members who have, we're talking, sorry? Yeah, let's verify. Okay. And your evidence is also on that thumb drive?
Yes, sir.
It's different than the previous.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's different, it's different.
He's in process of switching. Okay, so we have all of that evidence. The ARB members who are considering the protest have not communicated with anyone about the protest and are signing an affidavit to that effect. I, Scott Wagner, just want to swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66.
I have often do solemnly swear that I will communicate with the person in violation of tax code 41.
I, Joanne Ferguson, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66.
I, Ron McCann, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66.
I, Peggy Bird, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66F.
So all testimony from all witnesses must be given under oath, and we'll ask you to swear in again in this case.
Read your statement and then say your name. I do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony I shall present to the appraisal review board for the Aransas County Appraisal District is true and correct.
I do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony I shall present to the appraisal review board for the Aransas County Appraisal District is true and correct.
Okay, you can both of y'all state your name.
Yes. Totally passes.
Fine,
Thank you.
thank you.
I am a virgin solemnly swear or affirm the testimony will present to the appraisal review board, the Aransas County Appraisal District.
Okay, like to go first again?
Put the top one. 8.9 acres.
Okay, so 8.9 acres, adjacent to the property that mentioned. Next, please. Is there a list of comparable properties in the area? We can come back to that later on.
There's 10 acres, 4 acres. And then we have this set how much they are. And these properties also are next door down on the same highway, 35 south, outside of our port,
In the same area, it's all about location.
mostly on the same side of the highway.
Gonna press on now and run out of time again. This is adjacent property. We talked about this earlier. This is Ding Nelson, Nelson property, the cottages in Wellport. Their average is 4.45 cents per square foot, the 25 cottages. Improvement value total is 155,430. Next, please. This is adjacent property. We'll probably see it as on the aerial here. We'll try to bring up later on, but these are properties at 202, 204, 228, Gateway Drive. Getaway Drive.
Those are addresses and then that's the property IDs.
Property ID.
And they pay between 37 to 41 cents a square foot.
And this is a neighboring property. Next, please.
That's our fence right there.
Yeah, there's a fence line. Again, this is on the north part of the property. That's
This is 2 acre.
yeah, there's a 2-acre property.
Less than.
Yeah, 111 lands and property ID 64102, 2 acres.
That 2 acres is actually was a proposed canal for this Bahia Bay. They didn't make the canal for whatever reason, they built the house and so, but the land is still there and it looks just like our land. It doesn't look like it's damaged or there's anything wrong with it. It looks the same.
That's a big chunk of land there. Next, please.
How many acres is here?
8.9.
8.9.
8.9.
Okay, this is the plant. This is Bahia Bay. Bahia Bay, there's the 6.35 acres of the 8.9 acres does not have access to a public way. The land's in due to Bahia Bay buffer zone. That's the ID there, appraised at $40, landlocked without cutting trees. So you'll see about the cutting trees. We're gonna also address the tree ordinance. And here Bahia Bay buffer is 1 foot. I'm restricted from driving on the public way, in this case, lands in, because well, according to the surveyor, county surveyor, and my lawyers, I cannot trespass on their buffers legally.
And you just said earlier that this land is useless without the railroad property. So the railroad property value went up because that gave this land value. So this land would be less valuable because it doesn't have any access to any road.
You don't exit from the east side of the property due to Bahia Bay and buffer zone, and it's public way. And it's my personal opinion, I believe that's just cheap insurance, reference to the folks over at Bahia Bay, they're good folks and everything, but this is a public way. I have every right to drive on that public way, being that it's public funds by the county.
Oh, wow.
Okay, next please.
And then
This is a FEMA flood zone, the entire property, the 6.53 acres out of the 8.9 acres the flood zones you can see there in red.
If we were to build the red line, that square,
okay.
if we were
That's
to
your
build,
property.
yeah, if we were to build, we would have to bring in build dirt.
Okay, does that have it?
Okay, next please.
1 second, go back. Can you
Okay, well,
it's 35? Okay,
That's
thanks.
35.
All right.
okay, I know, I don't want to run out of time. Okay, the 6.3 acres, floodplain that's out of the 8.9 acres. See cattails growing throughout the low areas. Area keeps water in the low places for a long period of time during the high tides and rain periods. This is due to poor Aransas County design for storm water drainage. The water ditches are not cleared of debris and vegetation by the Aransas County maintenance organization for drainage into the bay. Next, please. This aerial view of the access restrictions at 6.35 acres. Can y'all make out that? Okay, 6.53 acres on the west side, access to enter without cutting oak trees for road. Okay. And I think Mr. McCann said something about the reference to the back part of the property and, talk about that later on, but nevertheless, I'm restricted. 6.35 acres on the east side, access to enter restricted, it's restricted by Bahia Bay buffer. Everybody see that? Okay, next please. Okay, there's a tree ordinance, the 6.35 acres of 8.94 acres of disability west side is restricted without cutting live oak trees for roadway access. Wind swept oak trees are protected natural resource in this county. Next.
Seconds, so get a lot more.
No, this is it.
This is it.
Okay.
Okay, so we have an average of properties at 22 cents per square foot to be fair. And the property at 65/35/3 land locked, it's landlocked without. Well,
That's okay.
okay, all right, now I'll get the property without involvable access to 6.35 acres of the east side of the property. The property is not comparable to other properties of the same size due to FEMA low elevation map design and the access restriction.
David, 1 minute.
Okay, so in our evidence, there's a note in here, on the protest that said something about it being coded as commercial. So a lot of our evidence is kind of under the assumption that the thing that was being protested was whether or not this was being considered commercial property. It is. It's this. State code really tiny in here. And we've got a land table. It is F1. So it is state code F1, and it probably should be A1. It won't have any effect on value. If it's coded commercial or residential, it doesn't affect the value. It's just that it's a property classification thing. And nothing to do with the property value. And if this was a commercial property, it would be the warehouse building that's on here would be worth rented, but it's not.
I told you that one minute, yes.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah. So there is a warehouse building on here. The land behind it, it said very wet. Just land on this intracoastal kind of area, we call it intracoastal region. Our sales grid is other warehouse buildings. Configured here is the warehouse. There's a huge number in there. The equity grid is, let's see, where are these things? I think you need to fill for the improvement. The concern, I think, we were under the impression that the concern was about the improvement, the land value. The improvement value on this is like $65,000.
And we get charged for that. We
For
pay-
the building?
Yes,
Yeah.
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 we're talking about the land.
Right, what I'm saying is our evidence is presenting a lot of improvement focused stuff because that's just the phrase we put together within the impression of what we're talking about. Not the land table. If you look at the bottom of our sales ratio report, the second to last page, we're at 97% and an average of 97%. Our ERD, which is price related differential, is 99.7. COD is 6.5. A lot of numbers, but in stats, what that means is we should have put 3% more value on every single property in this entire area. And we wouldn't have done a single thing wrong in doing that. We wouldn't have beat anybody's sale price. The coefficient of dispersion so small. That was just pure restraint that kept us from doing that. I don't know why. Because of the land value change. Land value and improvement value went up. What I'm saying is they should have gone up. Conceptually, though, we're having a problem here. Okay, there's three different pieces of property. The house, there's a land around it, and then there's an access piece of it. If we look at all those things individually, and we go, well, this is just access. There's nothing on it, it's just a ditch. Worthless. And then you look at land behind it and you go, well, this is just land, there's no home. The undeveloped land is useless. And there's no access. And then this is my house. My house doesn't even have a driveway. It's just this tiny little thing, it's worthless. The whole thing ends up coming to get to nonsense. Like the way that I would value this, I never would have, if I was appraising, I never would have put 21% on that thing in the front. The whole thing is one unit. What is the property worth? You don't sell just the front, or just the back, or just your house. Sell all three of them together. So
You don't know that.
that's my job. I'm telling you, this is one economic. There's one driveway, it's contiguously owned. That's what it's for. So we're looking at things with such a tiny microscope that we're getting answers that don't make sense on them. When this thing sells, it's not going to sell for $300,000. And that's the answer you're going to end up getting. So the problem that we're having, looking at everything like that, you end up kind of in nonsense results as a whole. So that's why last time I was just saying, I don't know, it's arbitrary, 21% is arbitrary. I don't think it should have been on there at all. I think it's worth every dollar that every square foot behind it. It's your yard. This stuff in the back though, this stuff is a marsh, underwater. The other stuff next to it is also underwater.
It's a big drainage field for Bahia Bay. They're their houses are built up, they put them on hills, and the water just goes right into our back field.
Right. I think if you could develop it, it would be worth an extraordinary amount of money. Like 7 figures amount of money.
So we're not developers.
We're not.
We don't have
Well,
that.
I also, Scott, could you check real quick if 64102 has a developer discount? I think it might.
How can? No percentage of it, huge percentage of it is not available because it's not.
Right.
Would that be included as
Are you
well?
taking that into consideration?
Yeah, I think it's on a land table for that.
Man table for wet.
You own the house too.
We're in that
In the
middle.
middle.
Okay.
You know, we bought this property like 19
Yeah,
years ago.
It's on, it would be $1.50 a square foot, but it has an adjustment to 50% of that value. It's 75 cents a square. And it's because it's wet. It's very wet. It's like probably more than. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah,
But you're taking them off the wetland.
yeah, that's what the 50% adjustment is in the function to hold the value. It's underwater. I'm surprised the floodplain map could distinguish anything. The whole thing's in the flood. I was talking about the whole thing's like, I don't know what the difference is between the back of the property and the front of the property in terms of the flood zone. Right. Right.
There's no carve out for flood, marsh, whatever,
Yeah.
it's just one line item for the whole
For the whole property,
which
which is
brought about here in a second.
right, which is just the value is depressed because it's very wet. But anyway, Scott, did you get something on?
64102 is adjusted because it is the canal. It is platted as the canal. And it's not,
It's supposed to be.
it's supposed to be dug out, but probably unlikely ever will be, but
It never would be.
you know, but it also then that impairs the ability to build on it too.
Well, yeah, I mean, so they're gonna hold it forever until they can do it. And Islands of Rockport had the same thing, the third phase stalled out for over a decade, so. But yeah, that's why they were. It's just part of it.
So, you know, we were here like 19 years ago. My husband bought that land. And a year after he bought it, he paid a certain price for it and it went up to 300,000, just like this is now. Back then,
Yeah.
and they've said the same, it's like, how is it that it could just go up because we mowed the grass and we knocked down the old buildings that were there? Now the price has gone up like this. And they told us the very same thing, like, oh, but you could sell that land for this. We didn't buy the land to sell. And that's kind of like grabbing things out of the air. Oh, but you can do this to it.
So in the state of Texas, your property taxes are assessed according to the value of your property. The reason is when the state was being made, they were like, we need to raise taxes. And we don't want to tax homeless people. You tax people according to how much stuff they have, their actual wealth. And the thing is, you don't own worthless property. Okay, that's all anybody's been telling you for the past 20 years when you come in here. When they tell you that you could sell this. It is valuable. That's all it is.
I don't.
Our job is to figure out what these things are gonna be worth when they do sell. And when you guys sell this, we're supposed to be at 100% of what you quote at.
When we sell it, then you can charge the sellers for what they bought it for.
That is
Well, charge the
California,
people who bought it.
and we're not allowed to. do that. That's California has a different taxation system. So our system has not worked like that. This was set up in 1981. It works completely different. What we're talking about that is how it happens in California. When you sell property, it gets set for whatever you pay for it. And as long as you live there, it stays that way. And if it wasn't for the fact that California is extremely attractive, nobody would ever sell their property. But they have such extreme liquidity that they can do that. But here the result would be nobody would ever move. Why would you ever move? You've had your taxes locked in for like 30 years, you know. It reduces activity. It basically makes people who have stuff always have stuff. And people who don't have anything never get it. That's the problem. So it's the reason people are leaving now. It's kind of home to roost after 60 years.
Clarify something, so the 292,000, you already discounted from some other number.
from $1.50.
Because of the. Because of
The wetland, the wet's over here.
So if that bigger percentage of the property is marshland, you don't put anybody in the building. Well, so therefore, why would it value?
Well, it's valuable because they own the whole thing. That's what I'm saying. We're looking at it as if it exists independent of what's around it, and that's just not true. Like, if we decide that this is worthless because there's no house on it and there's no access to it, so it's worth $10, and then the access is just access, so it's only worth $10. And then the house has no access, so it's only worth $10. The whole place is worthless, but that's not factual. It's nonsense. We've got to a nonsense conclusion because we're torturing how we're looking at this. Like, it's not worthless, okay? But I'm not saying it's great, right? It's definitely big marshy land. That's what the adjustment is on there for.
I'm glad we have a chance
So
to
it
talk
made an
here.
adjustment. You made an adjustment.
Yeah, there's an adjustment already in here for that.
Now, what would you say?
It's 50%. 50% of what the value is.
So it's 50% of the property.
So you're saying marshland went up 50% since this year or whatever? Because
I don't, the value versus what it would have sold for last year, I don't.
You're asking.
Yeah, that's too.
It's 50% is in your appraisal card, there was a 50% discount or reduction off the $1.50 that was applied across the whole. And that 50% was based on it being marshland or whatever, but it was also applied against the whole property. So,
So it's not just the wetland, it's the whole property, because that's all yours.
you can drive to.
Yeah.
So why didn't you do that with the other properties next to us? The other ones that we had on that list, why are they still their same value? You didn't apply that, whatever that,
Which properties are you?
the one that was on the second slide? The ones, those properties?
Can you see the aerial
The one
again?
with the little RV park on it?
No, the one that has that one. These properties, you did not
I don't know
apply.
where it is. I don't.
There's addresses there, there's property ID numbers there.
I'm not that kind of autistic. I can't remember where we are. I'd have to see it.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Look, can we do this? Am I gonna have a chance? When is my turn? Our turn.
We've got them all. So we have to businesses. Okay, so that's we'll here.
Tell me when it's my
Go ahead,
turn, please.
you can have, few more minutes to discuss something.
Oh, okay, Mr. Fraser, I'm sorry, which name, please?
oh, my name's Amy.
Raymond, listen, you talked about the previous property being a ditch. Remember that? We talked about, a railroad property. Basically a ditch, water.
Yeah.
Now, I have the same situation here, except it's 6.3 acres of a ditch. Right. So out of the 8.9, the 6.3 is basically useless. I think what's fair here if the remainder of the you subtract 8.9 from 6.3. Okay, that would be the property up front. I think that should be taxed versus
Well, it's
versus
all
the back
tax-
part be taxed separately, different. Okay,
So what did you say? 6.3 out of the 8.9?
yes.
So let me translate that to a slightly different way. That's moving the adjustment from 50% to 70%.
What did you do?
It does this, it gets you to the same dollar. It is moving the value in the back and saying that's not worth anything. And the stuff in the front is worth something. Rather than 50% off, taking 70% off. Right, it does the same thing. It's two ways of getting the same dollar.
I don't agree with you.
Then
I mean, I can tell you when it gets to us talking.
Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
what do you mean?
We need to get this.
All I know is that the value of that property went from 24 cents a square foot to 75 cents a square foot. These other properties, their values didn't change. Why is ours changing?
Because the market is.
Why is
increasing everywhere.
ours just ours? But You showed that there were
Yours
other
is a
properties.
radius. A lot of the stuff you're looking at around you is just not a radius.
But listen, you look at the whole thing,
What
it's
about the-
platted separately, so you need it taxed separately.
That's not.
Those lots in
Yes, it is
Bonita
true.
Bay, houses could be built there. They are
It's
building
true.
houses as we speak, right there.
We have 3 different ID numbers. You have to tax accordingly. You cannot take it upon yourself and say, oh, you guys own all of it and it's all one. Now, if I would resurvey the entire property to make it one property, maybe
And
it's,
so when you guys go to sell this, you're gonna tell your appraiser
can I finish, please?
to put these kind of values.
Can I
on
finish?
it.
So you can arbitrarily say, well, we want to, we think because they're connected together, you can use them as a whole. However, the district has 3 different IDs and they taxes accordingly. So you can't just say,
You keep
okay,
saying I can't do stuff, but you're not in a position to say that. Like, that's not how any of this works. That's not how any of this works. You can't just say you can't do it and make that true. Like, I know what we're supposed to do. I know how appraisal works. I have certification for this stuff. I know what the laws are. There's other properties we deal with. It happens all the time.
if we were to sell this property, I could not sell this property for what you're appraising it for. Because it's marsh.
What do you think you could sell for?
I have no idea.
With our house and
So we're not given the luxury of going, I have no idea, and sending you a notice for that. We have to put a number.
I have no idea because I don't have a buyer. Okay? I don't have a buyer. I think, but it was
You have an
before,
idea of what you would put it up for.
I would put it up to, but it was appraised before. I don't think it should go up. I think that's fair. In fact,
Of 80.
And that's what you sell it for.
152,660.
It was 20 years ago.
But nevertheless, I believe that if we stay on with the same price, I think that would be fair.
Yeah, I have a question, why people don't have this replanning? To turn
To
into
what?
one person,
You know how much it costs to plant property?
you know, but that was
No.
never your
You-
free-
so what would that do for us?
Your bill would never go up.
It would never go, oh, because it'd all be a homestead.
Homestead.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now we're 65.
And you have that as well.
We're the- Okay, folks, we're.
So is that, are you guys trying to like bring it up before we get?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're almost
They're almost
65,
already
let's
there.
catch them now.
Already have.
No, you have a homestead already. We don't know how we do that.
So we homestead the entire property, it won't go up.
If you had done that
Oh,
in the
but-
past.
You're too late now.
Well,
Well,
now it's because it's all separate. As the market goes up, you know,
this could be
it's
planted.
gonna happen again. If your value gonna go up,
We can't stop here. The ifs and whats you can do in the future. We have 5 minutes to deliberate on what you do. Value your property.
It's kind of took me by surprise.
You had some thought on it.
Yeah, what I did was take the area that is not marsh.
Which is 2.6 acres.
Yeah, 2.55, 2.6. And I applied a $1.50 foot, which was the rate. Okay?
Right.
And I assumed that back part was 0, okay? So in the incantation that you went through, there's some average across those, right? Giving some value to the marshy area and something less than $1.50 to
Right.
the front area, okay? So again, I chose to just say $1.50 for the non-marsh part. And I came up with at $1.50, which was on the card at 166,617. So let's say 166,600. Okay, for the land. And that just basically keeps the back part, marsh, underwater, whatever. And then added the 65,040 for the improvements to come up with a total of
231, 600. Something like that. So rounded that off. Maybe 231, 600
I think that's fair.
for the improvements and the land. The non-march part of the land.
To clear up, the only difference there is that I was using the number he was providing as far as how we don't allocate, that's the only difference. But you and I did the same thing.
All right.
Yeah, that's,
what I figured.
Or you
Good
did
value.
value.
Yeah.
Which is what you did.
Agreed.
So.
231.
Improvement is where it is, and bring it to the.
Yeah.
231.
That was my math.
but I'm just gonna say, I'm not sure that wetland has no value,
And it,
you know, so I just,
you're
I
right,
know
it does
what you
have
did.
some value.
yes.
And now how much is that value and how much does the front part compare? Because $1.50
Yeah.
may be too much for that front part to come down,
But it's,
but it's not,
Yeah.
it's not, you know.
Does this land have
That's the only
access
value.
to,
is
so I don't wanna
somebody
say that-
else can't put something there.
right,
It's-
yeah.
Maintaining your privacy, you it's unfortunate.
Okay.
Wet, but.
Just wanted to
You ought
make that
know
clear.
it was wet. I'm fine with it.
Mhm.
Anything else? I'm good with that. Okay. All right, make a motion on account 2022-113, that's a case ID number of account 66353. In considering, Q1 incorrect market value, insurance rate. ARB of the opinion that they would lower the value of the land only. It's, that would bring the total to 231,000. In building space.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed?
And-
I,
And so so the valuation is 231,600 for the whole thing?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
We can break it out if you want.
No, that's fine. No, I don't know. I know. I just want to make sure I'm getting the right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You guys don't do this for fun?
Every day.
Every day.
We were appointed, right?
Yeah, really, it's not an honor.
Actually, it's.
You gotta vote here, don't you?
Yeah, we got it. It's an honor.
All right, so you understand the final number that we arrived at?
We're looking at 231. right?
231,600.
and that's with the building too,
Yeah, that's everything. That's
and before it was like 300.
57. in the land for it's 10,000. That right away.
Okay, thank you very much for coming in.
Okay, thank you much for your time, all right? Thank you for, no, good, you know, this is a good job and you always have to do it.
See you.
Good job, good afternoon.
I think I've seen Ron.
I try not to go there.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
We have case number 622, PID 25245.
Yeah.
622 is on page 9. Can we take a 5-minute break?
Okay.
What number?
Yeah, it's not.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's page 9, 11.
The last one.
Quick water. Excuse me, sir.
You don't want it to be. There's no calculation, there were infinite. And I'm just saying, the future, if you wanted to.
know what that is, it's what it is. It's 15 seconds. Figure that out. Well, it might take me time.
That's fine. You can do that. You can notarize your signature on a little bit. Gonna hit and sign here.
Yeah, you have to calculate this. Yeah, I don't.
Will you get my phone number?
It's okay. Thank you.
Okay, we're ready. We are commencing a hearing on case ID 2022-622. Count number 25245. 18 Blue Heron, Rock Porch. This hearing is being recorded. Let's see what's under protest. You want you to? No worries. Which is market. Online, okay. All right. We are the appraisal review board that will be hearing your protest today. We do not work for the appraisal district. We are appointed to perform an independent review of your protest. At the end of the hearing, you may complete a survey regarding your experience. The survey may be completed using this survey form, which is here. And you can drop it off or take it home and email it or mail it. If you email it, it will go to ptad.communication@cpa.texas.gov. Or you can actually take an online survey at surveymonkey.com/r/survey ARB. And the survey is voluntary, and all that information is right here, as well as will be included in the determination packages. You also have the right to appeal our decision. Appeal information will be provided to you in that determination package. In accordance with tax code section 41.45H, all written material that has not been provided must be provided at this time. I'm assuming that you have submitted all your evidence that you'll be addressing to the folks here to include with your hearing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. In accordance with the ARB members who are considering the protest have not communicated with anyone about this protest and are signing an affidavit to that effect. I, Scott Wagner, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66.
I've had to often do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66.
I, Joanne Ferguson, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66F.
I, Ron McCann, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66F.
I, Peggy Bird, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66F.
All testimony from all witnesses must be given under oath, so you'll be asked to swear in there.
You read that statement aloud?
Sure. I do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony I shall present to the appraisal review board for the Aransas County Appraisal District is true and correct.
You state your name, please.
Christopher Carrier.
Okay, go ahead and sign in front.
You.
All right, my name is Damon Burke. I do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony I shall present to the appraisal review board for the Aransas County Appraisal District is true and correct.
Okay, I need to ask you if you hold a license or certificate from the Texas Appraisers Licensing and Certification.
No.
That's fine. You just need to.
It'd actually be much harder if you were an appraiser than anything you said, you didn't give an official opinion. So you have to go provide methodology from the right. So you're free to your phone.
You don't want to be.
Okay, over there, you will see this table that indicates our hearing procedure times. This is how we run our hearings. And either you, as property owner, can go first and give any testimony, everybody, and blah, blah, blah. Or the district go first. You get to make the choice of whether you go first or the district goes first.
I'll go first.
Excellent.
You have 5 minutes right now, and then you have just 4 minutes.
Okay. So, the more I looked into this, the more unfair I thought the valuation was. I received your notification of court, the mailing, showing the appraised value and then the online form. And so I completed the desire to protest. When I looked more into it, down my street of Blue Heron and looked at the valuations and the price per square feet, we are way high above, the norm in that neighborhood. And I've included on my documentation, including pools. Many of them have pools. I started out by looking at just the even numbered Blue Heron houses showing, because they have the same sunset and so forth, sunrise. And many of the common view features in place. Many of the houses do have pools. Even when you look at the ratings that you provide on quality, it still seems completely out of line. And so, when you look at price per square foot, and I'll refer back to it as we go. But, looking at first, I've used one example of the comps you gave me in your evidence packet of 64 Blue Heron, and I included some pictures there. It's a 3,756 square foot home. It's valued at $456 penny per square foot. Was valued at $1,712,000. It has a pool, it has an elevator, it has full bay views. As you can see in the pictures, they have high wood panel ceilings throughout the entire home. I didn't put down all the pictures, I didn't get up with the website. But it is a much higher finish out than our home. They have a pool, they have a spa, the pool has bay views. They have an outdoor grill as well built in. If you just look at more of that property, it's at $456 a square foot. It's way better than what we have from inside and out, including the original build on that was 2010. Ours was in the 1970s. I noticed that you've done an effective date based on when things were rebuilt after Harvey. However, you cannot, in my view, compare what you can build from scratch in the last 10 to 15 years versus what started off with a frame from the 1970s. And there are high ceilings that you'll see throughout. You also have a bar, a separate bar, inside bar. I mean, it's just a whole another level home.
You only have another minute and a half.
Oh, okay, well, I'll carry on then. Shoot Blue Heron is a case in point. It's on my street. It has full bay views. It's priced at $337 a square foot. It has a pool. It is, if you look inside, it is very well done. So that's basically the same price, but it's 1,300 more square feet than I do. Plus the pool, plus they use 15 blue here, and I include 6,000 square feet over 250 feet of waterfront, over 4 times the size of my land. And it's valued at $213 a square foot. 8 blue heron, beautiful home, 3,593 square feet. $285 per square foot. Value for 2022, $1,024,880. If you look at that in any detail, you can clearly see that that has been remodeled. It has been much better quality even from the street. It's a brick driveway. It's got wood paneling on the outdoor porches that are wrapped around to the side. It has a pool. Much better than my home.
Okay, you'll have a few more minutes later on, so. Right now, I'm gonna, 2 minutes to examine and 5 minutes. Okay, so let's get back to, regular evidence.
All right, so this is count 25245. It's 18 blue heron. So last year it was certified at 1,077,570. This year, notice that 1,451,930. We noted that there was a sale price, and our information says the number was $1,668,500. Which I doubt is exactly that, but maybe it is. But that's the number that we have for the sale. So we are. Let's see. I don't know what percentage that is, but we're a little bit light on the purchase of this house. Picto, there's a to the house right there on Blue Heron and a little triangle park kind of area. One thing I wanted to point out was the effective age thing is we don't have condition codes like how the quality of the building is usually checked up, is it dilapidated, whatever, or condition, fair condition, good condition. Not every appraisal district does that. A lot of them use the effective age. And so that's what that's telling you, is basically the condition of the building. So by saying the effective age is 2016, it's that it's in excellent condition. That there's nothing about it, there's no deferred maintenance, where it's like that thing hasn't, the roof's going to need to be replaced, right? But we do notice that, or note that it's 1977 original. Yeah, that happens. There's a bunch of stuff that was built back then. But as far as other stuff being way nicer, just to put it into perspective, what we're doing here, we're doing a single mass appraisal of the whole county. We're appraising all the residential property in the entire county all at once. This is classed as a 7 SS plus. There is no property that we have that's a higher class. So this house is in the same bucket as all the other nicest places in the county. So there has to be a limit at some point to where we can draw the line and say this is just the top, the bottom is going to be the bottom, right? The ultra nice properties in any district, something that's just completely ridiculously overbuilt, is never going to be at 100% of what maybe it even costs to build it, because it's so super adequate for the area. But everything we're comparing it to, the 7 SS plus, there's no way of us to reliably quantify how much nicer it is. They're all the nicest houses. They're the best houses, and they're in essentially perfect condition. Every house has problems, this is right on the bay, built on a sandbar, right? But you're not going to see a lot of granular adjustments between 7 SS plus categories, because that is just a very superlative classification. We've got 15,000 other properties, none of them are even close to these. So if you're only looking at these, you're going to spot the difference. You're going to see differences. But if you're looking at like the corpus of all the properties, even the properties in Key Allegro, these are the nicest houses. It can't just be one. It can't be a set of one. It has to be a little population. So just to explain that, that's why the class is already maxed out. And the other ones are also maxed out. The sales grid, we have, the first one is the subject. And so it indicates a value of the sale price, 1.6 million change. The comp 2 is 64 blue herring, so that was 1.7 million. And so when adjusted to be like the subject, so all the things that it has that subject doesn't are taken off, indicates a value of 1.59 million. And then comp 3 is 22 blue herring, and it sold for 1.5 million. And there's things the subject had, the net isn't a positive from the subject. There's also, it's land, there's 31,000 in land difference. And then, let's see, it's like just a building size. Yeah, there's just building size and other improvement features that get adjusted. Indicates a value for the subject at 1.75. So take it, and then there's another one on blue heron for 1.5. It's 7ST, 7ST and 7SS plus. It's one stuff. 1.7 million. So the indicated median value is 1.7 million. So what that's saying is in our measurements, this property was not overpaid based on what the things are they asked to acquire. As far as equity, the adjustments are made based on all the different factors that go into describing these properties in our system. Indicates a median value of 1.5, 1,519,301, which is about it's about $70,000 over the notice value. And that's pretty much it. I mean, the equity is, we're making the adjustments, and you see the stuff we're comping it to is 7SS plus, 6SS plus, 7SS plus, 7SS plus. Like I said, after the hurricane, things were, they need a lot done during the hurricane, and these are the ones that did. There's been transactions in there, you see our gain to sales ratio. At the bottom, we're at 98.4% weighted and average for this area. So we're about 2% light across the board on anything that sells in Keeler Grove. So I mean, I don't know what else to say. We don't think you overpaid. That's pretty much.
I clearly overpaid. Your price was wrong. It included other material other than the house.
What do you mean?
Interior furniture, golf cart, other things like that.
Like personal property,
Right. A whole nother category, but I had to put about 100 grand in fixing it. So your idea of quality is just way off. Hits me hard to hear that.
Well, it's because what we're doing is
incredible defects, which should have never been approved by this county for them to build.
like what?
First, the heater was wrong. Measure in the house was a fire hazard. I was told I need to get rid of it right away. That was 10 grand. That porch was sloping. Somehow y'all approved for.
Real quick, nobody here approved it. We don't. This isn't the county.
Okay.
All
right. Well, it was built.
Right.
The back end of it was dropping. I had to rip off the deck.
Okay.
I had to have new posts put in. I paid Lynn Engineering to come in and redesign a plan.
For the back deck.
For the back deck into the house, the doors didn't shut, which is another story. Anyway, there was a lot of defects in that. So
when was that work done?
that work's been being done this year.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I bought it a year ago and we're just not finally able to use it. It's been a nightmare.
And how much?
We had windows that weren't built right, that the water came in through, that the owners had cleaned up before we like the lipstick on the pig. And I see what you're talking about as far as the bucket, but I would say that we're in the wrong bucket because we are not in this nearly in the same quality as these other homes. We're not in the same quality. I mean, I don't know how you can justify Having houses that are nicer than mine, 285 a square foot, and charging me right at the very high. In fact, I'm higher than 64 Blue Heron. On the price per square feet, you got me all the way up at 470
So
square foot.
it's, that's just,
I mean, it
has to do with how you do it.
Right.
Y'all are the same table. You're both 7 SS pluses.
I know it's just wrong.
Right.
I mean,
Well, again,
I mean, you could bring in every top 10 realtors in town and they would tell you the difference of an equity. I don't know how to say words other than you could joke,
well, because
that you would come up with such incredible variations. Cape Blue Heron, if you put that on the market today versus mine, it would be worth way more than mine. Same with Deep Blue Heron, way more than mine. You justified paying 8 Blue Heron at $1 million 24 for the valuation on a house with a pool that's better all the way around, 3,593 square feet. I mean, how in the world could that be? So 2 Blue Heron, 40,336 square feet. Over 1,300 square feet more than mine. And it is the same valuation. And they've got a bay view, they have a pool, they have wraparound deck. I mean, it's just ridiculous. There's no way, if that is and that's a 7ST, 2 Blue Heron. So how can that be down at a 337 a square foot? I'm up at 470. There's huge.
because you're doing your math.
You need like a class action student. It's just outrageous. You could have this kind of variation. Everything you said, I understand your methodology, but this right here would be. It would be. I mean, it is just wrong. You completely violate your ethics, your fairness, and how you value. Not even close.
Right, so you're finding up.
I was gonna try and answer some of your questions and explain this stuff, but you're not remotely in a mode of this.
No, I don't listen, but I think there's no way that would hold up in that.
So, do you know how much the personal property that you're talking about is actually worth?
It was worth over 200 grand.
I mean, we're 200 grand off the sale price, so. Yeah, I don't know what to say. We're less than what you paid for that. I mean, this is working across the board. We're not praising anybody for more than they're praising they're selling. So,
Yeah, I know.
I don't really know
what valuation. Can you answer me, how could you do 2 Blue Heron or 8 Blue Heron? That much less per square foot? It is not equitable. It is unfair. It is wrong.
I don't think.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're about to get into it.
You're dividing the whole by the square footage of the main area. You can't do that. You can't do that. Because there's other things. There's porches, there's toilets, there's.
My point exactly.
You're not adjusting for those things
No, they're not at all.
the way this is adjusted.
If you asked a realtor top 4, they would all value those homes I've mentioned higher, way above mine.
Right.
Not even close.
So you're
Not even close.
don't get across here. There's 2 different issues. 2 different issues. Okay? One has to do with how you make adjustments. It's the appropriate of your adjustments. The other one has to do with we're talking about a realtor. Realtor's not selling the whole county. They're selling one house. So they're valuing one property at a time. We're valuing the entire county. We're producing a statistical model. Every appraisal district does this. The whole tax code is book this big, it requires us to do it. I'm not even licensed to do that kind of with the fee appraisal. I understand how it works, but I'm not allowed to do it. We do it differently. And in a bell curve of property, you're at the end. The end of a bell curve is extremes. It's a lot of extremes. And the way it's set up is the stuff at the top is going to get squashed away. It's going to get squashed away. All the stuff at the top of the classification system, any given area, it's never going to be realistic. The most valuable property in any appraisal district is going to be worth hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars more than this. And it's because there's this other thing on top of our work that requires that we adhere to these medians, where we have to compare to other properties and show, oh, look, I'm doing yours like this one and yours like this one. So that's depressing their value big time. If we were to be able to do stuff like you're saying, based on the way realtors do it, our appraisal would be exactly the same kind of appraisal you got when you bought the house. It would be even higher. So this is actually happening to you as well. Your value is less than what your property is really worth because we're required to do stuff this way. That's why we're not at the same number that, say, your real estate appraiser provided when you close the house.
How do you explain to me 8 Blue Heron with 500 plus more square feet of pool in better condition than mine, at $285 a square foot or $1 million versus my 1.45? I mean, there's just no way for it.
I don't know. I don't have anything for it here. I have to look at it.
And the same thing with 2. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
So if we just label stuff and say, okay, this is a 7 SS plus and it's this many dollars per square foot. And here's the depreciation schedule. And here's your neighborhood adjustments. And here's the description for a porch and a boat lift. And we just measure and label the house. And then we put it on there. We do that to every house on the street. There's no unfairness happening. It's all just being labeled and given a price per square foot. If 8 Blue Heron is a 7 SS plus, which I don't know what it is, I can't see it. It's the same as yours. It's the same. They're all the same. Every 7 SS plus is the same. Everywhere you go, in the whole county.
It can't be because it's 500 square feet more a pool.
Right.
And it's over $400,000.
Well, maybe it's not the same class. I don't know I don't know what 8 Blue Heron is. I'm not looking at that.
It's a lower one. It's a 6S. Yeah, I figured you'd ask that question. But mine should be lower than the problem might be just that mine is the wrong classification compared to the other properties.
So
Because
keep
there's
in mind,
no way.
we can't stop the process at that point, right? When we're doing the appraisal work, if we say, okay, we'll leave this guy at 6, and you buy your house for $1.6 million, all the 6s need to be $1.6 million. And then all the 7s need to be above that. Because it has to make sense. Like they have to line up. You can't have the 7 be worth less than the 6s. And we can't be 30% off the sale price. So there's implications to how we label these things. If yours stays at 6, and you buy it for 1.7, that's a data point telling us a class 6 home worth 1.7 million. Imagine what a class 7 is. Like, we can't stop just on one property. We're having to do the entire area all at once.
I know that's why I did like 20 or 30 houses to give you a representation of my street. And
No, I think
the
you're
methodology that would be done. And I mean, I understand what you're doing, and I understand y'all are trying to do the right thing by the whole county. I get that. I understand that the Allegro, generally speaking, is a higher quality than the rest of the county. I get that. I'm not suggesting I pay less, but you look at my proposed thing, I agreed to pay more. I didn't come in here and say, I want 8 Blue Heron at $285 a square foot, do that towards mine, and I pay even less. I'm not asking that. I was trying to be fair and saying, yeah, I'll take a price increase from what you had last year of 100 grand. But what's being proposed does not make any sense whatsoever with the rest of the street.
I mean, just, we just talked about it, really, very last minute.
Yeah, I can't, we can't just negotiate for the value. We have market data that takes place.
Whoa.
And we have to measure it and basically reproduce that. Create something that reproduces it. The fact that we're $200,000 shy of a sale is a problem. It's like, well, we need to be here, but like you said, there's other things that come into that sale that have value that aren't real estate. That's what it is. That's a great thing for us to explain. When the comptroller wants to know why we're $200,000 off the sale, but that's why. You know, maybe the reason we're at 98% in Key Allegro has something to do with that. I think it does. But as far as unfairness, you know, there's nothing special on your property. It's just on a schedule with everybody else. If you're when you said the more you look at it, the more upset you got, that's confirmation bias. You went looking for something and you found it.
I would trade my house today for 8 or 2 or 64, any of those, I'll trade them. And pay less property tax, and have a nicer house that's bigger.
Okay.
I trade it.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think our time is up unless you have.
No, I
Really, we more than 5 minutes to discuss. Information.
Okay.
You indicated you didn't pay $106,000 for the house. Do you want to tell them what you did pay for it?
It was a one with it was like right over 1.6.
That included the $200,000.
Easily with 200. Because we were way off in our negotiations.
How much are maybe have all kinds of corrections, whatever it is, trying to work. So, how much is all?
That part of it's probably 100 grand. I had a couple things I improved on the way. But easily 100 grand.
So the house was in condition and then how I'm getting on fun.
Not now, because I put all this money into it.
January.
January 1st of this year, what was
Oh, this particular year. It would visually look the same, because it's got the same square footage, there's been no improvements from that perspective. It's doing defects. Correct. I'd call it a repairing defect rather than an improvement.
They've been done since January.
And like at a pool where I could sell it for
I
more.
can answer the question. So you've been done these.
In calendar year 2022.
January 1.
Yeah, I started last year, 2021, but it continued on to 2022. Yes.
Anybody else want to-
It's not gonna make a big difference. I mean, if I were to say, okay, 100,000 in repairs. Of which some percentage of that was in 2021. So let's say 50,000. Just the ballpark, because you don't have any other information. However, we take 200,000 off for the stuff and take 200,000 off the personal property. You know, we're down in the 1.4. 200,000 off the 1.6 is 1.46. Okay, take another 50. So that, I mean, even in the best of cases, I'm down at 1.400. You know, 1.400. And that's just that's a swag, right?
Basically, if we would do all of that, it would be that value that it's finished.
Pretty darn close.
Yeah.
I mean, we're $50,000 off. So even, you know, even being extremely charitable, it's 1.4. 1.4 even. Okay. Scott, may I ask a question? It's not the neighborhood adjustment though, or maybe it is. I see 1.35, is that? On the property card.
What?
So what's your question is like, what's the neighborhood adjustment in
Yeah.
that area?
Yes,
It is. It is 1.35.
okay, is it possible to figure out what it was for the prior year?
Sure.
Wait, what are you asking?
What's the change in the neighborhood adjustment?
For this year? For this
Yeah,
2020.
it's basically going from 21 to 22. Just as a point of reference in my mind.
It was 110 last year.
Okay, so we got a 25%. I'm sorry, yeah, a 25% increase in the neighborhood adjustment, just going from 21 to 22. So there is some effect in the valuation there, which is just picking up across now. I know that's difficult to try and explain in that you're looking at assessed values for these other properties, okay? So I personally can't go below 1.4, and I'm even having trouble trying to get to 1.4. The other point I want to make, again, it's difficult to, because we have this a lot of, we have this discussion with a lot of property owners, is how the grids work with trying to do ups and downs, and why looking at square footage just doesn't help. Trying to take two properties that have differences in quality, differences in age, differences in features, and try and come up with any number that lots of people like to put square footage on that number. It just doesn't, it's doesn't help us come to an endpoint.
I think, I agree, I think that, as we just discussed, with the $250,000, whatever it was, also. It's sales price, basically, right, it's all exactly, it's one of the houses. Personal opinion, that we should, I mean, the show that they're right, it's probably possibly more. The average sales price is median sales price is about 7. And the equity average is 5. So in both cases, the 1.5 both sales and median sales.
One four would be
I'd go with the median.
What?
1.4.
The median.
We struck it down by chance.
Okay with that?
Sure. Well, I am.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion on account number 2022, there's 622, I'm sorry, I would call it under the please ID number. Account number 25245. Addressing incorrect state market value, state interest in the level appraisal. The ARB, taking into consideration value of the property. We're basically comfortable with it, but we're way below the price of 1.1.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries it that. So you understand what we did?
I understand what you did. I don't agree with it. And I think that, I think people should know before they buy in Rockport that it is a complete travesty of justice to buy a new property for the inequities between current homes and what you buy is so dramatically wrong.
So you'll find the information that we send to you that you have other options. You can follow.
Yeah, I will. I mean, one of your stated objectives is to be, is an equitable thing, and I know you feel that way based on your little analysis you gave me. However, it's just so far off of reality, for the entire street. And for, like I said, I gave you the examples, you know what they are.
Maybe your streets,
Pardon me?
maybe your street full of $2 million homes.
It's a nice street. I'm not arguing about it. That's why should I pay that much more than people that have so much more square footage than I am? I mean, number two, it's got 1,300 square feet more, it's way nicer and a pool, and a baby. Why should I pay over $130 a square foot more? It doesn't make sense. Same with eight.
I'm sorry, but we.
Yeah, we're.
It's fine.
Can't comment anymore on.
I know.
Thanks for coming in. We'll probably see you next year.
We'll see you there sometime.
And so less than 1.4.
Stupid, I'm not gonna buy a house and sell it, but. Right. Like if any of these other ones on my street where people are praising that, I would welcome the preference. Why don't you raise the existing homes more to come up with market? That's where you're, I mean, looking at a revenue target you're looking for. I mean, it's just. No, I mean, I know, I'm not talking about y'all making.
That is?
Yeah, find
Yeah, this is the one with his.
She'll have the feeling before.
that
that was
the
the-
previous one.
Yeah, the people with the railroad properties.
Right, and the wet area.
Yeah. Okay, I'll,
Oh, done.
let me just, oh, there she is.
Okay,
Okay, great.
I'm gonna do that, Mark, and there's more than one letter.
Okay. This is from through Thursday.
Okay.
I need to get the property ID. for
Okay.
that. You want to walk back? Oh,
Do
you
we
can do it
know, the name?
Still.
No.
Well, it really was.
Yeah, two. Two, 4, 7, 8, 5.
Okay. That's the one.
Just
Yeah,
the one.
whatever.
They have two. 2 by 2, 4, 1.
I'll put those together.
It's a good question.
Okay, and this one, I can figure out, but who puts these little labels on? You guys or?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're done.
Let's see, that was 3:00.
So tomorrow at 8:30 again.
Yes.
Next, you got that one?
Yeah, whoever does the labels, I'll tell you the,
What's that?
Did you find the ID number?
yes. 1 second, please. Well, I was just trying to find out the railroad properties, who that was. Oh, 112, yeah, 112, 113.
Yeah.
Okay. So This is. Constance.
Oh, yeah, it's Costas, Carlos Costa.
62720
Yeah.
Okay,
and 65353.
excellent. Yeah, thank you.
So my question, to you asked, where do you go to, who do you appeal to?
You can,
Who hears the appeal?
no, it goes to district court,
District Court.
yeah. And for certain properties that are, I think it's like over 1 million. I might be wrong, it may be like 5 million, I have to check the number again. They can actually go to binding arbitration.
Okay,
The rules are different in terms of how you deal with it with binding arbitration and so on. And plus the expense involved is higher with binding arbitration.
Yeah.
And the loser pays. Yeah. No. Is that it?
Yes, sir. I think we're done for today. Oh, okay, yeah. Is anybody opposed?
No.
All right.
See you all in the morning.
All right, take care. Drive home carefully.